I'm experienced now, professional. How great I am.
The black guard, got big lips and black bras. In the projects, rich is whipping that black hard. My rhymes insane, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Prior to job, my lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world. Yo, my mental vision, setting up intuition. And you really don't have nothing if you intuition. I work with light just to give birth to life. I was born in all forms in the perfect night. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. I am the ruler, just like the Lion of Judah. My third eye was built like an iron computer that's dark matter and deep thought making your heart shatter. I sleepwalk, talking with smart chatter, so I don't need you to ride or die with me. I got ancestors that vibe from the other side with me, and they beam up life after death. We got noses on our eyes, cause the light's a breath. My priceless flesh, the final copy. Look like Anunnaki. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. In the projects, rich is whipping that black hard. My rhymes insane, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Prior to job, my lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world. Yo, the black guard, got big lips and black bras. In the projects, rich is whipping that black hard. My rhymes insane, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James, that nigga's a black guard. And you wonder why we spit lead. Just the whole reps, niggas got big heads like Olmecs. Way that I'm writing is more than vain. This is the age of enlightenment. We the Moors in Spain. Now that your honor, I pray to a black vagina. Even the Pope prayed to the black Madonna. In the sun, I shine as bright as I be. I'm the greatest of all time, like Muhammad Ali. And when I die, baptized in the fire, only fly at night, black skies are higher. Prior to job, my lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world, rubies and pearls. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. In the projects, rich is whipping that black hard. Rhymes insane, my skills is whipping that crack hard. Look at LeBron James. The black guard, got big lips and black bras. As soon as I leave Earth, it's back to the stars. Prior to job, my lives with jewelers and girls. Just ask nods if I rule the world. Yo, the black guard, from infinite to infinite stars, it's infinite light. My life's got an infinite charge. The instruments I implement to give strength to your heart. The temple within, the imprint, mimic the art. Into the dark, the dragon spark the fathom from a higher consciousness. I talk with atoms, I live in the land, and I live in the stars. Original man, I am the image of God. Call me Tut Amen. I cut diamonds, so as long as I live, nothing can stop shining. You gon' need to be in the bins to drive me crazy. Live on CNN, hearing cries from Haiti. You know them people down there trying to hide them babies. The black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. The black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars. The black guards, surrounded in light, attract stars.
I told you, all of my critics, I told you all that I was the greatest of all time. All of you, I know you got it. I know you got it, Nick. But the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am. I told you, I'm the real champion.
All right, my bad, peoples. I had two StreamYard tabs open. I couldn't find the other one, so I kept on going back to my drop down. So I'm gonna play some more music and we're gonna get back into it. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses, peace to the Tonchans, peace to the Aborigines, North, South, Central, and the conjoining islands.
Invader, this is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. Give them all praises, give them all praises. Where the fuck am I going? Who the hell could I be? All this time I've been lost. Vessel trapped in the sea. Chains holding my legs. I just want to be free. Fist picking my throat. Hell yeah, they know it. Heritage keep going. You can see it in my phenotypes and that damn Indian showing. This knowledge keeping me steady. 45 on my hip and my armor man stay ready. I hit the streets in my Chevy. Blunt burning, smoking heavy. Man, here you go, I got plenty. Prayers up for what's in it. In the land I lost many. Cause every nigga ain't feeling. And every man ain't milling. No D-bows but Stanley. No heroes for my family. Why the pigs killing us daily. Invader, this is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. Give them all praises, give them all praises. Invader, this is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. Give them all praises, give them all praises. Where the fuck do you come from? Kidnapping our babies. 11 million abortions. Whole country is scorching. Natives stealing my portion. Bitch, give me my land back. We ain't signed no contracts. Why you wasting all of our trust funds? We don't know who your dad is, but we know who your kinfolk. Take the food off of my plate. Eat that shit with my folk. You invader. Motherfucking invader. Invader. This is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. Give them all praises, give them all praises. Invader, this is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. Give them all praises, give them all praises. Hey yeah. Hey yeah. Hey yeah. Hey yeah. Hey yeah. Hey yeah, hey yeah, hey yeah. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. Give them all praises, give them all praises. Invader, this is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. Invader, this is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. Invader, this is for the invader. Invader, sitting home the invader. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. All praises to the most high. Give them all praises, give them all praises. Hey yeah, 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 hey yeah. Hey, 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 hey,
We rely on our police to keep us safe, to protect.
Open up the heavens, let the sunshine in. The Duke of Tears and Empress about to begin. Giving love to all the ancestors that's tuning in. Here comes the Duke of Tears with some more offering.
Going out to the Olmec, Montauk, Shinnecock, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Washita, Blackfoot, Abenaki, Seminole, Muskogee. You know me, the whole me is OG. Coming to restore the crown of the Olmec, Montauk, Shinnecock, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Washita, Blackfoot, Abenaki, Seminole, Muskogee. You know me, the whole me is OG. Coming to restore the crown of the old.
Swooping through like an eagle, more like a stinging bee. Ancestors is left, right, in front of me. I'm all that vid dynasty live inside me. Moon goddess since birth, she worth native, made for greatness. And wild, with natural style, rain dancer under the moon, knock through the pearly gates. Escape from Spain to Panama, we still ahead of y'all. Never racing, just slow pacing to the top of the dome. We stand tall, y'all. Never lazy to walk, clap, just slap back. For all the mall talking, Shinnecock, never stop. A little petite, but never retreat. 10K is doggone tall, y'all. Chopper riding, we awake, very deep streaming. ET beaming, blood chop, lightsaber walker, wolf talker, never stop.
To the Olmec, Montauk, Shinnecock, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Washita, Blackfoot, Abenaki, Seminole, Muskogee. You know me, the whole me is OG. Coming to restore the crown of the Olmec, Montauk, Shinnecock, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Washita, Blackfoot, Abenaki, Seminole, Muskogee. You know me, the whole me is OG. Coming to restore the crown of the tomahawk chop, an entire city block. Big Buffalo people coming back to wreck shop. Hip hop, and pop can't stop the rebirth for raw. Indigenous rock with the native chant. Christ war dance. At a glance, anyone who glance at the Shechem war dance. Chief Seven Feather Owl, the Moorish coal of power. Make all these 14th Amendment rappers throw in the towel. Square, compass, and travel. These masons taking oaths, disrespecting ancestors, selling their souls to ghosts. I raise my glass, make a toast to Aboriginal hosts, traveling through the cosmos. That's most, meaning that's on top. My wounded knee bandaged up. Black Hawk, what's up? Geronimo skull. We taking it back from the tomb of the bones when we coming in the rooms and resume like Olmec, Montauk, Shinnecock, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Washita, Blackfoot, Abenaki, Seminole, Muskogee. You know me, the whole me is OG. Coming to restore the crown of the Olmec, Montauk, Shinnecock, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Washita, Blackfoot, Abenaki, Seminole, Muskogee. You know me, the whole me is OG. Coming to restore the crown of the
Open up the heavens, let the sunshine in. The Duke of Tears and Empress about to begin. Giving love to all the ancestors that's tuning in. Here comes the Duke of Tears with some more offering.
All right, you guys, enough is enough. Enough music is enough. Hope everybody enjoying their Friday. Hopefully ain't too many people got to work tomorrow, but it seems like every day is work these days with this fucked up economy we got. But nonetheless, though, peace to guys, peace to goddesses, peace to the Tanchans, peace to the Moors, peace to the Indians, peace to the Aborigines, North, South, Central, and the conjoining islands. Once again, this is your brother, Ahano Kiao, a.k.a. Autogenous One, or a.k.a. A1. Peace to the guys, man. So we're going to get into it. I told people Sunday when I was going to get in, I told people Sunday when I was doing the bill that when I get time, I was going to actually go into this whole, was Kamala Harris is black, or what is the understanding, what is our understanding of the terminology black? You know, a couple brothers did some good videos on this, but I'm gonna definitely give my commentary on it. So with no further ado, let's get into it, man. Just hey, everybody, if you can share the bill for me, definitely hit that like button. You already know donations is not mandatory or required, but they definitely are appreciated. So definitely, let's get underway. Let's get into the bill, man. Peace. I hope everybody enjoying their day. All right, so let's get into a little bit of this.
Spoke to Kamala's uncle officially. And by the way, he's a gem. 10 out of 10. I really wish that he was running for president instead of her because he comes across as a very honest man. I'm going to tell you all about.
And I'm starting off with this one. Um, I don't know. Maybe I should go into the other one. Y'all already seen the other videos. I'm just gonna add my commentary to this one because I kind of like how she going with this one, and this one I can kind of go off a little. I can add my commentary a little bit more. A couple brothers and did builds on the other video she did, but I definitely wanted to get started with this one right here because this one was something I found. She says a lot of the stuff that we like to hear of the reasons why Kamala Harris said that she's black. So let's get into this, man. Hit that like button once again. Share the video out if you can.
About that conversation and how it's now led me to many more questions. So many more questions that I have about Kamala and her true heritage. Also, she's once again been asked about her racial identity. This happened just 3 days ago. And suddenly she's a little iffy on the answer. Kamala and me are now in a very particular kind of relationship. I'm like Maury, and she's essentially my guest. I'm asking her a question. Kamala, during your run as president, we asked you if your genealogy was actually Irish Indian.
You said no. The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Oh, welcome back to Candance. Where to begin? Okay, so 2 days ago or 3 days ago, Kamala was asked again about her Black heritage, and suddenly she is getting a little iffy on the details. You can see she does not want to engage in the conversation, and the answer that she actually gives is fantastic. It is just fantastic, and we need to now pick it apart. So she appeared on a show called All the Smoke, and she was interviewed by the hosts, which are former NBA players Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. I want you to pay very close attention to her answer here. Take a listen.
What do you think when you hear people kind of questioning just the fabric of who you are?
Well, one, I don't listen to it.
Okay.
I'm really clear about who I am, and if anybody else is not, they need to go through their own level of therapy. That's not my issue.
Their issues, right?
My mother was very clear. She was raising 2 Black girls to be 2 proud Black women, and it was never a question. You know, it's funny because over the years, journalists, some, not most, will want to talk about it. And I say, okay, if you want to have this conversation, I'm prepared to have it, but sit down and get comfortable for a few hours. If you want to start talking about race in America, you want to talk about the 1/8 rule, you want to talk about what it means in terms of who you are perceived to be and the impact that can have on the rest of your life, regardless of who you actually are in terms of your God-given capacity and the rights that you have and should have. So, you know, I don't mess with that. I think that's other people trying to figure some stuff out that they
got some issues.
They got to deal with it.
Wow. So she just doesn't answer the question at all. Right. So before we had her really leaning into being Black. Now all of a sudden she doesn't even mess with that. I don't mess with that. I don't even mess with that. They need to go to therapy. She's pulling this Freudian technique. Obviously, you know, I've spoken to you about Freud, who was a disgusting human being who essentially gaslit women who were actually being abused by their fathers. So what she's doing is this exact same Freudian technique of gaslighting people by being like, actually, you need therapy. The problem is you. The problem is actually you for asking the question. No, Kamala, we're asking the question because you made this a theme in your bookie book, which we're going to get to in a little bit, okay? So you don't get to now just not address the question whatsoever. Put yourself in her shoes, okay? I'm going to put myself in her shoes. I'm running for president of the United States, okay? And these questions keep popping up about whether or not I am Black. Do you know how simple it would be to simply answer the question? List your Black relatives in 4 seconds. I would be like, this is my grandma, this is my grandpa. Suddenly she's a little iffy on the details here. Why didn't she just say, yes, obviously my grandmother is Beryl. Here's a picture of her. She's Black. I'm disgusted with the people that are even calling this into question. Here's my great grandmother, Iris Finnegan. I am obviously Black. Instead, she goes, oh, do you really want to talk about it? That's what I say to these shows. Do you really want to talk about race? Do you really want to talk about the 1/8 rule? I mean, how dare she? And the answer is yes, Kamala. Actually, I would like to talk about it. Yeah, I'm actually totally up for talking about the 1-drop rule, the 1/8 rule. Let's discuss history. That's what those journalists should have done. That's what those former NBA players should have done, not giving her a free pass. I would have been like, no, ma'am, name your ancestors. And why are you bringing up the 1/8 rule at all? Let's talk about the history here, okay? The 1-drop rule was actually a legal doctrine in the United States that was used as a means of racial classification, okay? It really dates back to the antebellum period in Virginia, where people of color were considered legally white if they had less than 25% African ancestry. So we're talking about something that was pre-Civil War, but then the classifications became especially relevant throughout Jim Crow in the South, obviously because of segregation. So they're like, are you white or are you Black? So they needed to know how to quantify whiteness and Blackness. The laws were first officially codified in Tennessee as one of Virginia's racial integrity laws. They wanted birth certificates to just be very clear whether a parent was legally white or legally a Negro, so that it was known which laws in society you had to abide by. What about Indian Americans? Because strangely, she brings up her mom. You would think the first thing she would do would be to bring up her dad. Instead, she brings up her mom. She's like, my mom was very clear that she was raising 2 Black women. Your mother is Indian, like fully 100% Indian. So the fact that the first person that you recall.
And listen, I'm gonna say like this, right? Some things I kind of like, we kind of know already with some of these racial classifications, right? Well, we also know that some of these racial classifications are being exaggerated to make us look like we were slaves and make us look like our families, like, you know, like Europeans had that much control to classify us. We know that we wasn't being classified until after the 1900s for most people. And then understand that the system that she even talking about, when they start talking about 1/8, the 1/8 rule and all that was coming from so-called Black Aborigines, because they was having sex with white women and they was trying to find out the classification of some of these people. But they make you think from the understanding that white men were sleeping with Black women. We know they're going to tell you that in history, but we actually see that is bullshit. Most of the interracial couples was between Black men and white women, and most white women only chose Black men when it because of their financial status. A white woman wasn't just choosing to sleep with a poor Black man. You understand what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother conversation that we could get in later on. But like when you start talking about the 1/8 and all of this other stuff, yeah, some of this stuff came from the Racial Integrity Act from Walter Plecker, as we know. But I think Candace is making a good point when she's trying to just pretty much give you the history on the terminologies. Now I'm gonna go a little further with it, but I just want you to understand. Another thing too is this, right? Think about it like this, right? Kamala Harris' mother don't know nothing about being Black. Right? She don't know nothing about being Black. She's not Black. She don't know nothing about being Black. So how can she raise somebody to be Black? You understand what I'm saying? How can you raise somebody to be Black? And the fact that we so stupid, and I'm not saying us right here in the platform, or the people in the chat, most of these other Negroes are not on point. And every brown skinned person is Black. Now we're going to get into that later on the terminologies, but just from what Candance Owen is laying down, I'm gonna continue and I'm gonna let her talk. I'm gonna get into the point to when she starts talking about some of the characteristics and some of the foods and all that. Then I'm gonna come back in. But hit that like button, man. Peace to guys, peace to goddesses. Let's get back into it.
Is a non-Black person is suspicious. And regarding Indian Americans, just to be clear, in 1923, the Supreme Court decided in the United States versus Bhagat Singh Thind that Indians were classified as Caucasians, as they had been by anthropologists. They upheld that, but they also made it clear that they were not considered white. So that is probably the answer as to why her mother put Caucasian on her birth certificate. That was actually the legal classification for Indian women. Now, also regarding...
So real quick, I just want to show you guys something, right? Let's get into, I'm going to show you something. We're going to get back into the video in a minute. But just to show you, let me see something entires. Window. Matter of fact, you know, I'm going to share the entire screen because if I don't, I'm going to get lost because I got so many freaking tabs open. All right, so where are we at? Where are we at? So just bear with me because I got a lot of shit pulled up here. Hey, you know what? Hold on, I think it's right here. No, it's not. Let me find it real quick. Bear with me. All right, here you go. All right, so look, let's take a look at our birth certificate. For what? Because they didn't did a remix single on it because they didn't like these people was good at hot and shit, right? So look, so let me hide this. So from what we can see, because it's only half, I ain't gonna go in and try to find the original one, right? But we can actually see, right? We can see this Camilla, whatever her middle name is, Harris, right? City of Alameda, right? California, right? Oakland, right? So then you get into her, let me see. All right, so this is her mother right here, right? And you see her mother, classification is Caucasian, right? Then you go down, you see his her father classification. Hold on. Fuck. Her father classification is Jamaican. Now understand this, right? Let's just deal with this, right? Because I'm gonna be going back and forth with this, right? Jamaican, right? Most people when they come to Jamaica, they say they from Jamaica, right? Or they say they Jamaican Americans, right? Now whether they look black, right, or they look like the East Indians, right? They will still say that they're Jamaican, right? Now only when they come to the United States, they come here and get caught up in this black classification shit, right? And I'm surprised that a lot of people fall for it, considering that they know that there's no race of people called black people, period. There's no race of people called black people. Now, I'm a more, so I do believe that prior to people being called Negro at some point in time, whether you was an American Indian or wherever you was at around the world, the terminology more did apply to so-called melanated or brown skin complexion people. That's my opinion. It's not up for debate. I'm just clarifying that right now. But when it comes into the black classification, right, the only people who are called black originally was black Americans. They extend that word out as of the 1900s to any dark-skinned person. Now, to be politically correct, you will politically say that dark-skinned people from a Pan-African perspective, all brown-skinned people from what they understand are Africans, right? But then when you come to the United States, they use the terminology black. Why do they use the terminology black? They use the terminology black because there's a couple of different understandings of what black can as far as a status. In America, black is a status. Black is a status. It just get convoluted amongst people who come here and think that they're calling us black because of the color of skin, and then they adopt that terminology and say that they're black. But technically, the only black people there are black Americans who lost their status and been under the jurisdiction of the United States, which I'm gonna get into later on, right? So just because you're a dark-skinned Jamaican, technically you're not black. Only black people are black Americans. None of these other people black was not applied to them until later on, right? And that's only being from an ignorant standpoint. How we sit here and say that we're not black, right? Because we know we look in the mirror, we're brown, right? But we're going to get into some of the statuses and where these statuses come from, right? So let's get back into what Candance was saying. I just want to just put that on a record, okay? When it comes to America, right? When other brown-skinned people come here, a lot of brown-skinned people say that they're black so that first they can get interweaving into our culture, because they always say, oh, black people ain't got no culture. Bullshit. And just for food for thought, right? Just sit here and think. Let's sit here and be smart and think about this, right? They saying that all the people of America's so-called brown skin or melanated people, right, that look like Africans came from Africa, right? So it just so happens that you got Haitians, you got Cubans, you got Dominicans, you got Puerto Rican, because Puerto Ricans are brown skin too. You got brown skin Puerto Ricans who look like melanated people with nappy hair too, right? And some of the other Caribbean islands, Jamaica, St. Lucia, the Dominica, there's a lot of islands out there, right? Now, what they telling us is all of these people came from Africa, right? Now, let's go figure this, right? All of these people came from Africa, but when it comes to them, they got a culture. So you got Haitian culture, Jamaican culture, Cuban culture, Puerto Rican culture, Dominican culture, right? So where did they get their culture from if they was under control of the white man? If the white man had them as slaves, then where did they get their culture from? And why do they claim like their culture is so limited, or not limited, but it's like their culture was something that their people created if they was under the rule of the oppressor too, right? So then you got to kind of figure, was these people ever slaves? And was they ever under the oppressor? We know that they wasn't. The same thing in North America, our culture. Now, we think our culture came from white people. We think the reason we wearing suits and ties is because white people made a suit and tie. We the ones who had cotton, but they think you're so stupid to where you had a cotton plant over here all these years, and you had to wait till Europeans come over here to show you what to fucking do with cotton. Even though cotton got thorns on it, if you prick your hand on it or whatever, and then the Europeans are the ones that were so smart to say, hey, we can make clothes out of this. Let's create the cotton wheel and then start making clothes and start, fabricating cotton, when we already seen garments and stuff being made prior to European contact in America. So that's just food for thought. And the same thing like our food culture, right? The only reason why Southern cuisine is famous with white people is because white people, and I'm just saying this to be straight, white people were slaves. White people learned Southern cuisine from Aborigines from Aboriginal Americans. All of it: lemon meringue pie, yams, macaroni cheese, collard greens, cabbage, okra, etc. Catfish, all of this. Cornmeal, cornbread, corn on the cob, all of these different varieties of cultural cuisines that they use. They only know about that because we taught them. It wasn't vice versa. Because if it was vice versa, why do they always have a black cook, and white people can't really cook soul food? I'm a chef. White people can't really cook soul food like we can cook it. But what other food do they got? Other than when you start seeing Eastern Europeans or Europeans come over here and start bringing some of the European, some of them cuisines that was in Europe. Other than that, the Europeans that been in America, the only cultural cuisine that they know is soul food, which we taught them. And like I said, you got all these people, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, Haitians. All of these people claim that they got a culture, but yet they claim also that they wasn't that. They came from Africa. So the white man just brought them over here and dropped them off on the island and let them go and be on their own? No. So they had to learn that culture. Either they indigenous to this land, right? Or they learned that culture from the Europeans. So let's sit there and think about that. But then when it comes to us, we all were slaves, right? According to them, we all were slaves. We all came from Africa, but they got they got an exclusive culture. And then when it comes to us, our culture was made by white people, which is bullshit. Okay, so that's just food for thought. So let's get back into the bill.
This one drop rule, Kamala Harris was never subject to it ever in her entire lifetime. She was born in California. Just to be clear, that was the very first state to end segregation, and they did that back in 1947. So they did it 7 years before the Supreme Court decision of Brown versus Education, which federalized desegregating all of the schools. So it actually infuriates me that she does this, that she essentially goes back and pretends that she's lived through something. Like, well, let's talk about the one drop rule. Why are we discussing the one drop rule? By the way, even if you were subjected to it, you probably would have passed, since none of your parents are listed as Negroes on your birth certificate. Like, what are you doing mining the history of Black people that came before you and who you are still refusing to name? You put them in a book once, but that was it. Now you don't want to talk about Grandma Beryl. What's up with that? Now you don't want to talk about great grandma Iris Finnegan. What is up with that? And by the way, as I was considering that, her upbringing and how strange it is that she keeps leaning into this idea, like she was born 2 years before my mother was born, and my mother didn't live through segregation. My mother didn't live through any of this stuff. These are not her memories. These are the memories of my grandparents. My grandfather lived through segregation. I'm going, why does Kamala keep doing this? Like, acting like she grew up in the 40s and in the 50s with these sorts of memories. And then I remembered suddenly that she did this on stage a while ago, where she got almost teary-eyed and emotional talking about busing and desegregation. I'm going to roll that back for you just to jog your memory. Take a listen.
You also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Okay. Oh my God. Guys, so you watch that clip, okay? You're an American.
Candance also gonna make some assumptions, right? And I'm gonna kind of like give you a different perspective on it, because I think the whole play and see, she's on point. She's on point. And also remember too, right? Let me see something. Let me show you something real quick. Now look. This is Candance Owen, right? Now look what they say about Candance Owen. Now listen, some people say that Candance Owen was a Caribbean. See, and a lot of these people got to stop doing what they're doing, right? Because what I notice what a lot of Black people do is they know people may be Caribbean and Black American mixed, but then they just would throw the whole title of them being Caribbean and not saying that they got Black American ancestors. The same thing like Malcolm X. Oh, Malcolm X was from his mother was from the Caribbean, but his father was the one that taught him to be the activist that he is. You see how that worked? Malcolm X's mother was from the Caribbean. His father was an FBA, or father was an Aborigines of America, right? Aboriginal of America, right? But people would just say, "Oh, Malcolm X was Caribbean or whatever," and okay, his mother was Caribbean, but he learned what he learned from his father, who was an Aborigine of America. He didn't learn that his mother wasn't an activist like his father. Y'all don't remember the movie? When they killed him, he said, "I'm a man." Y'all don't remember the Malcolm X movie and shit when they showed Malcolm X's father getting killed, right? Remember they said Malcolm X's father was part of Israelite and I forgot the other group that he was under. It's kind of eluded me. It's been a minute, but his father was an activist, right? You remember his father had the gun and the KKK came and snatched him out, and then all you heard him yelling, "I'm a man." Right, that's where Malcolm X learned that shit from. But they want to sit here and say, "Oh, he's half Caribbean." No, man, forget all that, right? But the same thing with Candance Owen. A lot of people were saying Candance Owen was Korean, right? I mean Caribbean, right? Which, from my understanding, she does have some Caribbean background, but her people is from America. You just heard what she was just saying in segregation. Most of the Caribbeans that came over here with the Hart-Celler Act of 1965, the Immigration Act, right? So it say Candance Owen family. All right, forget she was she was born to her hardworking and caring father and mother of Stamford, Connecticut, in the United States. Owen parents divorced when she was 11 or 12, and she was raised by her grandparents, right? It's saying she is from a Caribbean American heritage and hold American nationality, right? Now I said she is from a Caribbean American heritage and hold American nationality. Now I don't know, is that saying that her family is strictly Caribbean, or do she have somewhat FBA family? Which Owens is not a Caribbean name. Like some of the Caribbean names like Reed, Harris is not even a Caribbean name. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know how Camilla family got that name, but that's a whole nother story because we can go into that too, right? So let's go back into what we was talking about. Let me see, because I got a bunch of shit. I'm gonna show you how these people come over here and run the flim flam on us, right?
And you see, she's getting a little choked up, and you can instantly assume that what she means is that she was like a Ruby Bridges. Yeah, like that little girl was me in second grade. I was a part of the second class to be desegregated. Like that instantly signals, given the emotionality of it, that she was a Ruby Bridges. Talk about mining Black history. Well, let me be clear. She intentionally misled people here to make them believe that she was a young Ruby Bridges. This is how disgusting and despicable this woman is. She wanted people to go back in their minds to all they learned about Ruby Bridges, the images of Ruby Bridges having to be protected by police as she entered into that school in Louisiana. She wanted people to go back in their minds to that. That's why she's getting all choky. She's like on the brink of tears. That little girl. So to be perfectly clear here, that little girl went to Thousand Oaks Elementary School in Berkeley, and far from that impression she's giving, she did not live through any desegregation or any real.
Nah, you right, Tim Marie, boy. But I'm gonna tell you like this, brother. The Dominicans can keep Ice Spice. All of these degenerates, they can keep these people. We ain't claiming these degenerates because they famous and rich. Look at how you accessing your fame through the lower self. So they can keep her, even though she may have Black ancestry that goes back to the Aborigines of this continent. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, a lot of Tezers do that. Now I don't know if Candance Owen is a direct Tezer, right? Because she do say certain things against Black people, which I agree. Some things need to be heard. Yes, hip hop was created by the CIA. It was created by the CIA. That is a fucking fact. And niggas should not be arguing that. They the one who amplify your sound or gave you the platform for you to be able to speak about this criminal activity that niggas was talking about. And it was also encouraged to speak about it, right? Well, let's get back into the bill.
desegregation at all because, as I mentioned, the schools had already gone through that before she was born. Literally before she was born in 1947 on stage. And this is what they had to put up on their website for clarification. They wrote, there has been some confusion in the media and social media around the Berkeley schools and integration due to the fact that our high school was already integrated, as evidenced, for example, by high school yearbooks, which show children of many race and ethnicities at school together prior to 1968. In Berkeley, we only have one comprehensive high school, so it was integrated by default. Our elementary schools, however, reflected the racial composition of our neighborhoods, which, like many neighborhoods across America, reflected the history of segregation stemming from policies which restricted the opportunities of non-white residents. So then they go on, we recently celebrated the 50-year anniversary of our voluntary busing plan. And you can find additional details here. So let me clarify to you what actually happened in her childhood. There was no desegregation effort like that she had to live through. She was not Ruby Bridges. Rather, what they realized was because of the past in which you had Black people all living in one neighborhood, and this was contributed sometimes because of like red line districting. You had Black people living in one neighborhood. You had white people living in one neighborhood. What ended up happening was that you had schools which were like majority Black and which were majority white. And so what they wanted to do in Berkeley was to be the first to offer a busing plan to turn that around so that the buses would pick up students that lived far from the white school and bring them over there so that the schools would be more evenly mixed. That's what she's describing. So after they put and implemented this busing plan, Kamala was the second or third class since they had implemented this busing plan. Nothing to do with desegregation, just an effort to say, okay, we're realizing now if people are just districted according to where they live, you're going to have these schools that are like 85% Black and some schools that are 85% white. That's what it is. So just thinking about the emotionality and how tricky she's being here, again, trying to allude to like some Ruby Bridges scenario really makes me angry. It is just so unacceptable. I just can't stand this fraud. And it's so important to state also that the one-drop rule was declared officially unconstitutional in 1967. That was just 3 years after Kamala was born. This is just not her childhood at all. Not her childhood at all. This is just what she does. She lies and she lies and she lies. But it gets better. It gets better. But first, I'm going to remind you guys about preborn because...
And let me just tell y'all what the ultimate game is, right? The ultimate game is to appeal to Black Americans. So when these people of different so-called brown or melanated family or lineage, right, when they come to America, by them saying that they're Black, see, we don't know by default. We just looking at her like, oh yeah, she's a Black person. She's gonna do whatever she can do to help Black people. She haven't done nothing to help Black people. And she also said when she was asked, do she support reparations, which I don't agree with reparations, but I agree with a redress of grievances, right? Reparation is also a terminology that is to repair a damage that was done. So technically we can get reparations, but not from the slave narrative. We can get it from the Jim Crow all the way up until now. The war on drugs, the AIDS and all of that. You can get a reparation for that, right? Or redress of grievances, right? But see, the thing of it is when these people come up there and say that they're Black, they are trying to talk to Black Americans, not no people who came from no other place. They trying to cater to us and then try to get us to identify, oh yeah, she's Black. Oh, she's for the culture. Let's vote her in. Let's put her. And she done had an opportunity all this time to do something which she done nothing for us. In fact, she hurted us because by bringing immigration into your communities, now the jobs that's accessible for Black people, now you have to struggle and you have a harder time getting jobs, right? We already went through this shit with white people. Now you got to go through this shit with immigrants, right? And the ill shit about it is you got people who ain't even citizens, right? That you got to compete with in the job market. You got people who got green cards that come here for work visas, right? And they throw them right in the job market with our people. And your people your application may be in there with a motherfucker who ain't even a United States citizen, right? And your application to get ripped up and denied, and they will hire that person over you. So think about that, right? But most of the time when these people are saying that they're black, they're trying to cater to black Americans. Number one, black Americans are so confused and they've been so brainwashed the way they think that everybody that look like them are them. Not saying, well, wait a minute. By you saying you black, what you saying? Your family went back into the South? Do you got ancestry here that been here from the 1800s? Oh no, my father's Jamaican. Oh, okay, your father's Jamaican. So technically, we have to kind of we got to kind of filter them too, because all Jamaicans are not for black people. They are for their own personal gain. They are not here just for black people. And I experienced it. And I'm not saying I got Jamaican brothers and sisters. I got Haitian brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? I got Dominicans that I fuck with. But I only fuck with them from a certain point because a lot of them have an agenda, and their agenda is to stay in America and swoop up under when it conveniently help them. Oh yeah, I'm black. But then in the back in the back they saying that, oh no, I'm not black. I'm Dominican. I'm not like them black Americans, them lazy black Americans that built this country and created all the inventions that the world used today. I'm not lazy like them. I'm not lazy like them. You understand? Do you guys understand? So that's the reason why a lot of people claim that they're black, so that they could come in, fit in with us. Some of these people change their last names, right? Some of these people change their last names to have American last names like Williams, Jones, Johnson, Jackson, etc., right? And then swoop in like Joy Reid. Joy Reid is from the Congo and from the Caribbean, but yet she always talking about the shit that our people went through. Your people ain't go through that, so you're not that. And in fact, your people came over here, right, to come here for jobs, and at the same time deny and say when it really get up close and personal. Oh no, I'm not a black American. My people are from the Congo. Or my people are from here, X, Y, and Z. You see what I'm saying? When it benefits them, it works. When they don't want it to benefit them, they want to separate themselves and make it seem like they're different from us. Peace of guys. Let's get back into the video, y'all. Yeah, we are old, but what reparations is not what you think. We not own no reparation because we was no slaves. We ain't own no reparations for that. We own reparations for the Jim Crow, for the racist, but you got to think of it too, right? You got to think of it like this too, right? Just the fact that we integrated with them, meaning we asked to be on their side. We asked to be with them. And we already know that, of course, these people is going to be racist and mad towards you. You had them enslaved. You had them enslaved from the time that they've been on this planet. So, of course, they're going to have all this vitriol for you. Listen. We're owed reparations, like I said, for the harm that was done to us, for our people being in the condition we are in now. But don't for one minute think that, oh, from the 1600s until the 1800s, these people had you enslaved, and then from the 1900s, Jim Crow, and then the crack era, then the war on drugs, and then AIDS, and all this other. You think that we've been getting our ass kicked from 1619 all the way to now? No, the 1619 story is a lie. Number one, our people was already here. We already had land, towns, nations, states, etc. Okay, so let's get back into some more of this. No, I'm not gonna. Honestly, I don't want if I gotta claim that I'm African, no, I don't want that money. I don't want that money if I gotta claim that I'm African, no. If I can put it from the fact that and we got enough evidence to really put it. It just so happened that most of the people who doing these reparation studies are studying it ignorantly. We got a whole slave book here from Carter G. Woodson in 1830. that shows all these free black people, rich, owning land, everything, right? So we got evidence that black people was already rich and already wealthy. How did they lose it? That's the reason why reparations or redress of grievances will come into play. But that's a whole nother thing. But let's get back into it. You have to make sure that you can't go from their statement of why you deserve reparations. Oh, you was an African boy here from Africa in 1619. Your people was enslaved all the way up until the Emancipation Proclamation, which we know over here. We know the Emancipation Proclamation is for white slaves and some black or Negroes who had white mothers. And people, for the life of me, don't understand that. But I'm not going to get into that. Let's get back into the bill because I don't want this bill to be too long.
Kamala is indeed the first vice presidential candidate to ever visit an abortion facility. And Tim Walz supported a bill in his home state which legalized the denial of life-saving medical care to infants born alive after botched abortions. The media has dubbed this the abortion election. We have to stand up to this evil. When you join forces with Preborn, the largest pro-life organization in the nation, you are protecting the greatest victims in our society, babies that are in their mother's wombs. Preborn's network of clinics are positioned in the highest abortion areas in the nation, and they have rescued over 300,000 babies. When a woman considering an abortion searches to end her baby's life, Preborn is there. Preborn gives them a free ultrasound. The power of hearing a heartbeat on an ultrasound combined with God's love doubles a baby's chance at life. One ultrasound costs just $28, and up to 5 ultrasounds are $140. Any gift will help their cause, and all gifts are tax deductible. To donate securely, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. So like I said, it gets better because yesterday I was going through her book that I downloaded. I downloaded that so that you didn't have to, because I wanted to send a picture of her grandma Beryl to someone. So initially when we started looking into the story, my producer had downloaded the book. I had downloaded the book, but he had stumbled upon the picture of Beryl. So I hadn't actually flipped through the ebook that I had downloaded. And so remarkably, it was kind of the first time I was going to the picture segment looking for Beryl, and I realized Beryl's not in this book. I was going, wait, what's going on? This is her book. Where is the Beryl picture? And I said to my producer, like, did we make a mistake? Like, this is definitely in the book. He pulls his up. He has a picture of Beryl. Mine doesn't. I'm going, is this a different edition of the book? And yes, it was. There were actually 2 publications of the book. One in January of 2019. And then 5 months later, in May of 2019, they published what is known as a young readers edition. Basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's meant to be for younger readers, and it's typically more pictorial, right? So they want to change a couple of words, essentially kind of dumb it down to make it easier to read and include more pictures. Yet in this edition, they decide.
So look, in Cold Word, the second edition was to make her look like she was really black. That's what it really was for. It's so curious, so funny or coincidence that she wrote the book in 2019. And then what happened? 2019, she was already running for the presidential election, right? With Biden. She was already picked to be the VP, right? She writes the book. This is just my theory. She writes the book, put all this so-called fake history about her being black in there to make black Americans think that she is black, right? And then from there, black Americans never even checked it. They just see, it's like Obama. Obama's mother was a Jew and his father was African. How is he the first black president? How? Because black people are stupid. And I gotta keep it a buck. We believe any fucking thing because you can read, you overread, and then you read too much and you believe everything that you read to be factual. Then you go back, regurgitate this shit, you source it, you use these people as references when on your speaking and your talking points, but you have never went back and researched none of this stuff. That is the epitome of autopilot. That's the epitome of a device, a computer, right? A computer don't have no outside, like no sentient information or sentient control over itself. It only knows what the so-called programmer has programmed into that motherboard or into that so-called computer. And that's the same way it is with niggas. Niggas got a smart bump phone. They can research any of this shit or whatever, but yet they have been told that the people, because most anytime my thing is this, right? Most of the time when I see a black elected official, I'm even more critical of them than a white man these days, because a lot of them pass on white supremacy tactics, and they're even worse, more of a white supremacist than the so-called white man. Kamala Harris is more of a white supremacist than Donald Trump, period. Than Donald Trump. We should have been, oh, Donald Trump, the Central Park Five, that's 5 people. Biden then locked up, his Biden crime bill then locked up millions of people. How many people do you think Kamala Harris then locked up and then did damage to their family? But you want to talk about, oh, Donald Trump. And we didn't see when Donald Trump was the president, was he locking niggas up? It wasn't even these mass shootings, these police killings like we seen when Obama was in office. There was more police killing black people when Obama was in office than when Donald Trump was in it. Let that marinate.
To remove pictures. And it's just, I guess, ironic that the pictures that they removed for the Young Readers Later edition were pictures of Black Iris and Grandma Beryl. There were more pictures that were removed, but the family members were all still there, except for Black Iris and Grandma Beryl. I found that to be extremely interesting. But suddenly I realized that I had never flipped through the book that had more pictures than the edition that I was holding. And I started going through them, and you guys are not even going to believe just how diabolical Kamala Harris is. It was just, I'm going to have to just go through this calmly, because I am telling you, as a Black person, it's actually offensive how hard she tried to Blackify herself. And it made me think of the entire Emmanuel Macron, Brigitte Macron scandal, because the journalist that broke that story essentially said that what they do when they're running is they publish a book, and that is the legend that is established, essentially, because people in their minds think, oh, well, if it's in a book and a publisher...
There you go right there. They go to evidence, right? There you go right there. We're investigating this shit, and we're looking for motive. So what would be her motive of all this so-called black shit, right? And listen, remember, check this out. Let me show y'all something real quick. Y'all already have seen this already, but we're gonna go into it, right? Because it's gonna go into the other segment when Candance.
I don't want to suffer the consequences of our future president.
That's going to go into what Candance Owen is going to start saying. And think about it like this, Negro, right? And Aborigines, right? Why the fuck? We've been here. This is our land, right? And we know there's been black presidents already. We already showed and proved that, right? But in our timeline, why every time there's supposed to be a so-called black person, it's always a migrant black person? It's never a indigenous grassroots aborigine to become president. Even though I'm saying, even if they do put a grassroots indigenous person there, they're still gonna be a fucking control opposition. They're never gonna really be for it. But just for the fact of what we said, as long as we've been in America, right, and someone family who didn't go through what our family been through, why would them people be the first ones to become president over the people who are known to be black or known to be under that so-called status, right? But check this out. This is more game. Look at this.
Not liking my Indian food. Can I just tell you something? Yeah, I've never made toast.
Oh, hi! I love that you're coming to the kitchen already. Like you live here. Coming to the kitchen. This is so nice. Are you stressed for making Indian food? Oh my!
And I'm gonna tell you like this, right? And I ain't trying to be racist or be disrespectful. And shout out to Indian people. the Indian people come from a shithole country too, right? Only here in America, these people who come from these raggedy ass fucking places can come here and put on these acts like they come from such greatness. Like they come from such greatness. They only people who could come here and put on an act before us, and we could look at them. Oh, she came here. She just because most people come here and either they get into black culture or they get into white culture. You don't see nobody practicing no other culture, either black culture or white culture, right? But then you get these Indian people that come in, and all the rest of these people. Same thing with Nigerians. Same thing with a lot of these Africans. Same thing with a lot of these people who come from these other places, right? They come here and make you think that they come from such greatness and such greatness, right? That you would think like, oh shit, look at her, she come from such greatness, right? But we can show you the shitholes of India. That's why these people be running out of here. That's why these people pledge allegiance to do whatever they tell them to do, so that they can come here and fake moves and make it seem like they come from this. They don't come from this. They come from fucking filth. Not all of them, but some of them. Let's keep it above.
Oh my God, you do it at a taster's. Oh my, you have no idea. This is how my mother kept all of her stuff.
This is so funny. I told my dad I was like bringing over the stuff from the store. He's like, obviously I put them in Taster's Choice.
But this literally was how my mother kept all of this stuff.
It's so funny.
What is that?
Do they tell each
I
other?
don't know.
Hi guys, it's Mindy. I'm here in my kitchen, and today we are cooking, but we have a very special guest. Very special. Senator Kamala Harris.
Hi guys.
Wait, so here's what I want to know.
Okay.
Is it respectful to call, like, I should be calling you Senator Harris, right?
No, you should not. That's not on my birth certificate.
Okay.
Call
Kama?
yes, please.
Okay, because the Indian in me, I feel like my parents,
Just
my
don't
dad
call
will
me-
watch this.
Just don't call me auntie.
Okay. Okay. I won't call you auntie. I'm like, how could you call her by her first name? She's worked so hard. Okay, so what we're gonna cook today
Okay.
is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, you know, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like our thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like.
Them people, they hate black Aborigines that much to where they give you one of these filthy ass Indians to be their president before you ever will be. Hey, share the video out, man. Hit that like button for me, please. All right. Like I said, donations is not required or mandatory, but if you like to donate, why not? You know, for the bill, let's get into it, right? But these people hate you so much that they'll give you a filthy ass Indian and then parade them around like they're so much educated than you, right? But they had to come either go to London or Britain to learn what they taught them, because they didn't create none of this stuff where they was at. They didn't create none of this stuff where they was at. They had to go under the wing of white supremacy to learn all of this shit. And what the Europeans did was give them the technical, like IT tech and all that. They gave that to them. That was a so-called profession that they allowed them to get into, but they didn't create none of this shit. They didn't create being an IT tech. They didn't create the computer. They didn't create the computer, but they parade these people around like they're so much smarter than us. Oh, look at Rah over there, toting a gun and fucking with a headband and a bandana on. He ain't come from nothing, right? But that's just not the only example we got of Black Americans. We got plenty of Black Americans who are of education and who come from a great family that they don't put out there like that. You know what I'm saying? So check this out. Let's get back into it.
The entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. It's basically true. And so, were you raised eating South Indian food?
South Indian food, lots of rice and yogurt, potato curry, dal, lots of dal, idli.
Yes, Italy. That's a deep cut. Okay, so what we're cooking today is two things. One of the South Indian staples is dosa, which is kind of like a sourdough crepe. And then we're going to make a potato curry, which is the traditional accompaniment.
Do any of that look like any Southern food or soul food? No, right? And look, I'm going to throw another one in there for you. If you don't have no black people in the house, how did you learn how to cook collard greens? Your mother don't cook collard greens. In fact, collard greens ain't even a Jamaican dish. Who taught you to cook collard greens? Your mother is not a black American and your father not a black American. So who taught you to cook collard greens? That's how you know these people have these certain talking points that black people click on. And I'm going to tell you another thing. This HBCU, it's the HBCU thing, right? On what they keep telling you about, right? Check this out. Let me show you something else. And this is going to be connected to this bitch Mindy, right? Let's look at this. Look.
New Jersey is filled with political bosses who get rich off our tax dollars. Tom Keene Jr. used his name to get rich, got caught.
It's a brother versus sister feud, and it's getting nasty.
Oh, boy.
Actress Mindy Kaling, star of the Fox sitcom The Mindy Project, is reportedly denouncing her own brother for a new book he is writing.
She said that by publishing this book, I would bring shame on the family.
On The Mindy Project, the actress plays an OBGYN.
I heard that birth control makes you fat and cranky. So does pregnancy.
Now her brother says she's less than thrilled that he applied to medical school by claiming he was black.
I did it because I was desperate to get into medical school.
37-year-old BJ Chokol Ingram bears a striking resemblance to his celebrity sister, but he altered his appearance by shaving his head and then claiming on his medical school application that he was a black man. As part of the deception, he also used his middle name JoJo. Why?
There was statistical evidence that an African-American student with my grades and test scores was very likely to get admission to medical school, whereas an Indian American applicant was unlikely to get in.
He says his plan worked. He was accepted to the St. Louis University School of Medicine in 1999. His famous sister and family never knew of his scheme, and when he recently revealed it, he says they were none too pleased.
My family was not supportive.
He says a wedge grew between him and Mindy that now appears to be getting worse. Her publicist says the actress has been estranged from her brother for years. On BJ's Twitter page, he refers to himself as Mindy Kaling's brother/nemesis.
I love my sister to death, but we don't see eye to eye.
St. Louis University says his race and ethnicity did not factor into his acceptance.
Now you see how these motherfuckers come over here and come over here and run all these games and these scams off the back of our people. Same thing with Kamala Harris. She's not a black American. Her family from Jamaica. What makes you think HBCU should be that spot that she had should have went to a foundational black American? But I'm quite sure she hit under the radar just like this guy did. Oh yeah, I'm black. But you was raised by an Indian mother. What part of black culture do you understand? Because you grew up around some black people. Your mother ain't cooked no goddamn collard greens. You lying ass motherfucker. Your mother ain't cooked no collard greens. You showing the food your mother cooked. And your father don't eat collard greens. They eat what the fuck is the name of the greens that Jamaicans eat? Oh man. It's like a form of like mustard green, collard green or kale. I can't think of the name of it, right? But they don't cook collard greens. And the method that she says she cook it, they don't cook that. So who taught you to do that? Or did somebody told you to say that so that would be appealing to black people? Kalu. That's right. Kalu. That's right. So did someone tell you to say that? So that, oh shit, she eat collard greens. And then she do look like a black American, right? She do look like a black American, but so did Mindy brother when he shaved his fucking head. You know what I'm saying? So did him when he shaved his head. I'm quite sure Camilla put a perm in her hair. Huh? Well, let's get back in cool.
So I printed out. So
where did
we're
you get
doing it
this
the
recipe?
old-fashioned way, which is I printed out a recipe from the internet.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so when I told my dad that I was going to be cooking South Indian food for you, he was extremely excited. He said, "I shall get the spices," but he took them all the Indian spices, and he put them
in the taster's choice jars. And this is exactly what my mother would do. So when I walked in and saw this, literally, I didn't know it was actually a thing among our
I
people.
guess it's an Indian thing.
It apparently is a thing.
Okay, cool. So this is all the spices we're going to use, courtesy of my dad.
Okay.
And then doses take a really long time to make the batter. So what we have is this great company, this Indian company actually, makes ready to make. You can get it at the Indian store. So we're busy. It's dripping.
Okay.
It's
It's dripping. Okay. So South Indians, it's vegetarian. It's all vegetarian. So when we were growing up and we'd go to India, and my grandfather was a little mischievous. So my grandmother, of course, was like strictly no, nothing. If it had a mother, it was not getting eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And if my grandmother would go out of town, my grandfather would then, he'd get very mischievous and he'd say, "Okay, let's have French toast." Because of course that has
an egg. So when I would go and visit my family, obviously no meat. Even the dog would eat rice and yogurt. Yeah, the dog would eat rice and yogurt. And the dog would like the rice and yogurt. Very good Hindu vegetarians. But
So that, you know, so that right there pretty much sums it up, man. Like as far as like that with her culture and her being black, she was raised by an Indian woman. And I see somebody say, "Listen, brother, whatever, my brother Hawk School an Aboriginal. He can claim to be an Aboriginal. He ain't got the situation with Kamala Harris is not the same as whatever situation that people saying with that brother. That brother's an Aboriginal. So my bad, y'all. That was my shredder. But back to her, right? She was raised by Indians. Indians don't even have black culture. So how you gonna raise, if you're Indian, how you gonna raise, imagine, okay, so let's say if you had a baby by a Chinese girl, right? In China, right? You're in China, you got a baby by a Chinese girl, and your kids are half black and half Chinese. How is a black man gonna teach them kids to be fucking Chinese, man? How? How's a black man gonna teach some Chinese kids how to be Chinese? How? That's a lot of reading. You gonna have to go through some ethnicity classes to learn how that ethnicity basically get down, right? Hey, cool, Keith Cat. I don't know what your point is, brother. Peace, respectfully, right? We are talking about an Indian woman, right? An Indian woman who was raised by an Indian woman, and because she wants to say her father's Jamaican, then she can say she's black. I don't know what you hear in the beginning, but technically, this is what black is. Let's just get into this, man. Let me just show you. So look, it's this right here. It's this one. So look. So check this out, right? So this is Chicago History Museum, right? So this is African Americans and Black identity rate research terms, right? So look. So we're gonna go down here, right? So these are identity terms, right? So you got African, right? Then you got so-called free African, right? Then you got African American, right? Which we already showed. We already showed you the brother who tried to sue Jesse Jackson. And he said you have a right to identify as what you want to identify. But if you don't know nothing else, then of course you're going to continue to be an African American, right? You got African descendants. And then what we got here? We got black, right? Now look, listen to this, right? Listen to this. So this is what black originally originated from. This is the original term and the original people who black was applied to, right? It wasn't applied to the whole fucking world of brown-skinned people. It says black has been used throughout the last centuries, right? The last 3 centuries, which I don't agree with that, because we know that they was calling them. Matter of fact, they weren't calling us nothing because they wasn't in control of call us nothing. Only from the historical perspective, they're saying that they're black because they don't want to say, oh, these are Indians, right? So they have to tell you that they're black from a historical narrative that they're trying to paint on us now. So like the last 3 centuries, white people wasn't running nothing. They wasn't in charge of your status or to tell you that you was black or Negro or nothing. This is all shit that's coming from the 1900s. And then also you gotta understand this too, right? It's also coming from the fact that you did have black men who slept with white women, and the so-called brown-skinned people that came that resorted out of that, because some of them was mulatto, some of them looked more white, some of them did look black, right? Then they start calling them colored people and Negroes. Meanwhile, our people were still living in our towns and in our nations. They wasn't calling us nothing. Only until after the 1900s, when we got into their jurisdiction, is when they started classifying us, like with the Walter Plecker and the Racial Integrity Act. That's when you start seeing our classification change from Aborigine to fucking Negro, colored, etc. Right? So look, so it's a black has been used throughout the last 3 centuries in the United States, right? Where? Not in Cuba, right? Not in Haiti, right? Not in Jamaica, right? Not in Dominican Republic, right? Not in Puerto Rico, right? Not in Africa, right? In the fucking United States. But it's used as a community identifier, emerged with the rise of Black Power movement when? In the 1960s. Replaced with what? Negro. Now I say invoking the term black aimed to reclaim a negative term and also to counter to white. Okay, let's stop fucking playing. This A1 right here, man. We ain't gonna do this, man. We ain't gonna sit up here and say, oh, black is black. Oh, black is just all brown skinned people who come to America. No, black is what? It was used in the United States, right? But used commonly as an identifier, emerged with the rise of the Black Power movement when? In 1960. And it was replaced with what? Negro. Now, when people came here, remember, let me see something, because I might have it up here. Let me see something real quick. All right, boom, I got it right here. Look. So look, I showed this a couple weeks ago, right? The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, the Hart-Celler Act, right? The Hart-Celler Act, right? I don't really want to get in and read the whole thing, but I'm just going to try to get right here. Let me see. Let me see. So you can get a hold up. I think it's up here. It's a part in here where it say people from Caribbean countries. Let me see if I can find that. You know what? I can't even find this in here. Oh, matter of fact, hold up. All right, so look, here you go right here. So boom, it says the Immigration Act of 1965 then comprised a complex of measures to promote a both greater inclusion and greater exclusion. The chief gain of inclusionary side of the register was, of course, the abolition of the national origins quota system. Eastern and Southern Europeans, the principal object exclusion, right? So they excluded the bringing in so-called Eastern and Southern Europeans. And the Immigration Act of 1924 could not enter the United States in equal numbers as Northern or Western Europeans. But as we have seen, the new law, not inclusionary, right? Not inclusionary towards all, but extending the system to formal equality in admissions to all countries. The new law affected immigration from the third world differently, creating greater opportunities to migration from Asia and Africa, but severely restricting it from Mexico. It's saying the Caribbean and Latin America, right? So now that you gotta kind of bear with me with that, because I'm not gonna pull up the other source. Let me see if I got the other source right here, because there is another source that's going to tell you. There's another source that's going to tell you that it did extend to people in South, Central, and the conjoining islands to come to America, right? But that's the reason why they also talking about work visas right here. Now look, it says visas shall be made available in a number not to extend 10% of numbers specified in section 201A. It's saying to qualified immigrants who are capable of performing specific skills or unskilled labor, not of a temporary or seasonal nature, for which a shortage of employment and willing people exists in the United States, right? Says visas shall be made available in a number not to exceed the 24 percentum of the number specified in section 201A, plus any visa not required for class specified in paragraph, though to qualified immigrants who are brothers and sisters of citizens of the United States, right? Then hold up. I mean, it's a bunch of them. I really don't want to get into it. So it says a visa shall be made available in a number not to extend 20% of the number specified in section 201, plus any visa not required for the class specified in paragraph to qualified immigrants who are the spouses, unmarried sons, and unmarried daughters of aliens lawfully admitted for permanent residency. Okay? So it's a lot of shit with this, but just know this, right? Was it this one? No, it was this one. Just know this. The terminology black is really only restricted to Black Americans. It's only when Black people come here, right? When was the Hart-Celler Act done? Once again, hold on. The Hart-Celler Act is in when? The Act of 1965, right? When was the terminology black applied to people, right? Black people, black has been used throughout the last 3 centuries in the United States, but it was a community identifier emerged with the rise of the Black Power movement in 1960. What was it replaced for? So what was black replaced for? Negro. Okay? Negro. But also, we also know, us that study law, right? We also know that black means civitem montus. I mean, you are dead in the eyes of civics. Okay? Because there's no black people throughout the world. So this is a terminology that is a jurisdictional based terminology, right? And basically to put you in their jurisdiction, but also take you out of their jurisdiction. at the same time, right? So let's get back into this. All right, so you guys understand that, right? So y'all understand the term black is only for black Americans. It's not for any other brown skinned person here who come to America and claim that they that. But also you gotta understand something too, right? If an immigrant have a child born, right, there, I don't know, I never seen an immigrant birth certificate besides I never seen immigrant that bore a child in America and what's the United States birth certificate and what's their classification. I don't think their classification is black. It may be, right? It may be, but that's not restricted to them because they are not from America. Only the black Americans were called blacks. And people come here and they use these terminologies to do like Mindy brother did to get into some of these schools, right? To do like Kamala Harris do, right? To get the ignorant black people to vote for her, right? Also, this is what she does. This is what they do, right? Well, let's get back into some more of this what Candance Owen is talking about.
Must have fact checked this, and all of this must be true. People have this wrong perception that if a book is published as nonfiction, that there was some effort of due diligence, which means that everything that you're reading is not fiction. So they do this, like it's like a rite of passage. I'm publishing this book, and I'm expecting everyone to just accept this as the legend of Kamala Harris. I'm going through these pictures, okay? And aside from Iris, aside from Beryl, she also decided to include some other, what I would describe as noteworthy pictures of herself. Like this one, where she writes, "Sporting my fro, summer of 1970. But basically, you just know when you go through this that they essentially sat down as a team and were like, we're creating the legend. We need you to be black. Okay, this was published again in 2019. And they're like, we need that black vote. Let's make it easy. Give me the blackest photos of you that you can possibly find. Like to put the caption of her afro is just signaling to black people, hey, I'm black, which is ridiculous because there's so many other races that have afros. Puerto Ricans have afros. Spanish people have afros. Jewish people have afros. Mark, my director, is Jewish. He has an afro, okay? It is not like proprietary to black people, but she's publishing this because like you're just supposed to look at the picture and go, oh, wow, she's.
And see, once again, this appeal to the simple-minded Negro in America, in North America, might I say, right? This appeals to them. That when they see a person with an afro, then they say, yeah, okay, that person has melanin or that person has some type of melanated ancestor in her, right? But that doesn't make her black. And that doesn't mean because she has an afro that she's going to pass any laws that's going to help so-called Negroes in America. And this is what Negroes forget. This is why Obama was able to be in office for 8 years. Why niggas was just happy to see a melanated man in the seat and not know that the European fabricated this shit. And you fell for it. You fell for it. You thought he was organic and he just came out of nowhere, right? He just came up through the ranks. He was only a U.S. Senator for 3 years. What black man you know been a U.S. Senator for 3 fucking years and is able to go right into the presidency? You got black people who would send. You got black senators now, black American senators now that ain't got that power. But did you look up his ancestry and realize that his mother was white and his father was an African? That doesn't equate to the black Americans because we are not from Africa. So when you put these people in there who look like us, you think these people going to fight for our rights. And Obama told you time and time again, I am not a black president. I'm a president for everyone. But he ran on the notion that he was black and black people ran for it. And this is exactly what's going on with Kamala Harris with these idiots. I'd rather vote a white man in that's going to change my quality of living to bring in a chick who let 20,000 migrants come here, put them on parole, and then release them into people community. and then have these people fight for jobs that your people can't even get. And then on the same token, tell you, oh, we ain't got no money. Just like the same thing with the people who got caught in this hurricane. They gave them people $741. I don't know what it was. Was it stamps or was it cash or whatever? But you done gave these migrants thousands of dollars a fucking month. And you got people who went through a cataclysm experience, right, where that shit wiped out their whole, some people had lost their houses. Some people's cities is underwater, and you giving these people $741, and you done gave migrants who not even United States citizens more money than you actually gave United States citizens? Do you not see that as a conflict of interest? But Negroes is so stupid. Oh, Trump a criminal. And we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna show you some different things of what they were saying, even saying about that, right? I'm gonna get into some different things with that, right? Because even the case that he had in New York, right, with the chick Tish James, right, that shit was a fucking a goddamn circus, right? We're gonna get into that, right? But I'm gonna play some more of this, man.
Got an afro. I guess she's black. She literally wrote that. Okay. Then, of course, if you can imagine this team sitting down trying to process how to sell black, you would go, well, Harlem, right? You got to put some pictures of Harlem here. And there are pictures of her in Harlem. Look at this photo. She just posts up right here, visiting my Uncle Freddie in Harlem. Harlem was always a magical place for me. Now, what's interesting.
Let's stop for a minute. Let's gather our thoughts. Let's look at that picture of Uncle Freddie. That looked like an FBA or an Aboriginal of America. See, these pictures are fucking photoshops, man. These pictures, I don't even believe she never been to fucking Harlem until recently. This is all to appeal to these simple-minded Negroes. Oh, she's black. She's a woman. She's going to be the first black president. You stupid fuck. She's not black. She's not a black American. And all of this shit is some Photoshop propaganda, and you niggas fall for it. You fall for it every time. You don't do no research. The master give you a book about you being a slave. You read the shit, and then you say, yeah, that's me. I am a slave. I am a slave. But in the background, they're laughing and saying, only if they knew that we was really slaves. But they didn't use so much propaganda. Oh, your ancestors wasn't able to read, so we're going to teach you to read what we want you to read. And then once you read what we want you to read, now you are programmed. Now you think you educated. Now you feel like you got some self-esteem to where you can now open your fucking mouth and run around and tell people about what these people then taught you, and don't realize how foolish you sound when you say it. This picture alone right here is like come on, man. This is flim flam. Like anybody who from the streets can easily pick up on what the fuck is going on here. Anybody can pick up on what's going on here. Oh, she from Harlem. Oh, Harlem is a staple for so-called Negroes, right? Your mother Indian. So how the fuck did you pop up in Harlem? So your mother took you all the way. Your father wasn't nowhere in the picture. So your mother took you from California to fucking Harlem. And now you got a picture in there. Get the fuck out of here, man. This is all bullshit. And those people who fall for this bullshit need you need to get you can't trust a Negro who will fall for some bullshit like this, bro. You really can't. You really can't, man. This shit is propaganda at its greatest, man. A picture of Uncle Freddie. Uncle Freddie, that is a Negro. That's one of our family members. That ain't one of her family members. Fuck out of here, man. Let's get back into it. This shit is a joke, bro. This is a fucking joke. Niggas are simple-minded, bro.
Interesting about this picture is the man behind. I don't know if that's actually her Uncle Freddie, right? Like that came to my mind. I'm like, is this just like a guy working on the side of the street and she's just like including him because this picture shows a black man that's in Harlem and again signals to black people that like she's with her uncle up in Harlem? Kind of feels that way. But then I realized that she featured some more pictures of her black aunties and her black uncles, and we see Uncle Fred again. Take a look at this photo. This is going to drive you guys crazy because I just
Bro, she done hijacked some people, family members, bro, and put them in her fucking book. This is it. Come on, bro. Like, and then niggas will fall for it. She done took some real people, some real Aboriginal family members, right? And then put them in her book, and niggas gonna see this shit and think that these are really her family. Her father don't even fuck with her. So how you fuck with your father's side of the family, and you got all these so-called family members and shit? The fuck out of here, bro. Like, are we silly here? That's some of y'all fucking family members right there, my dude. But to the simple-minded Negro, the simple-minded Negro will fall for this. Won't think nothing of it. Oh, yeah, she's black. They wrote this book at the time when she ran for president. They was already saying that they was going to get Biden out of there and force Kamala Harris to be the president. They were saying this shit when they were saying this before any of this shit. So therefore, she had to have a book made where she put all of this black ancestry in it who don't belong to her, because even her grandmother, right? Even her grandmother who died in the 1960s, right? She got a picture of her at 84 and think that people wasn't going to go back and do the science to her, right? And that picture is even Photoshopped. See, now, Candance Owen think that picture is somebody else. No, I think that picture is Photoshopped. I think the picture of her standing right there in Harlem is Photoshopped as well as a little baby. They got the technology to do that. They got the technology to do that. They got the technology. If you can get an app and take yourself and put yourself somewhere or whatever, you can get the people who wrote that book and the people who trying to get her put in there president, they got the top technology software to where that they can make that look real and you won't even question it. Never heard she said she was black before, just because she used the black man Willie Brown or whatever to get to the position where she wanted to get to, because that's what they always do. They always do that. Now she done hung around some black people and then probably just wanted to be black. So come on, y'all. Come on. We gotta wake the hell up.
I still can't believe it when I read it. So you see 3 obviously black people in this photo. You would not question the authenticity of their blackness. And the caption reads, "I'm blessed with an amazing family. I'll never be able to thank Auntie Chris, Uncle Freddie, and Aunt Mary enough for their constant encouragement and support."
And that ain't even the same black man that was in the other picture, man. That ain't even the same black man. But like I said, man, these simple Negroes will fall for anything. They will fall for any freaking thing. Anything.
They always showed up for me, as they did here at a campaign event for my DA's race that we held at a San Francisco, you guessed it, jazz club, because, hey, we're talking Harlem, we're talking black people, we're talking afros. Let's also post a picture of you in a jazz club with your aunties and your uncles. And like black people will just accept that you only have all these photos because you're like super black. But then I said, wait a second. She doesn't have an Aunt Mary or an Aunt Chris or an Uncle Fred. I've been deep in this woman's genealogy. Who are we talking about here? These people do not exist. And I said, is it possible that like somewhere in the book that she's alleging, probably assuming that no one is going to actually read through, she acknowledges that these aren't her real aunties and uncles? And the answer is yes, my friends. There's a passage about Aunt Mary and Uncle Freddie in this book, The Truths We Hold, which is really just the greatest trick ever played on Black America. She writes this: my mother surrounded herself with close friends who were really more like sisters. My godmother, a fellow Berkeley student whom I knew as Aunt Mary, was one of them. They met through the civil rights movement that was taking shape in the early 1960s and was being debated and defended from the streets of Oakland to the soap boxes in Berkeley's Sproul Plaza. As Black students spoke out against injustice, a group of passionate, keenly intelligent, politically engaged young men and women found one another. My mother and Aunt Mary among them. They went to peaceful protests where they were attacked by police with hoses. They marched against the Vietnam War and for civil rights and voting rights. They went together to...
Yo, do you hear this shit, man? Do you hear this shit? This shit, she put this book together to get these simple Negroes like we see today to vote for her. And they come like she was black. Oh, she went to an HBCU. Well, so did Mindy brother go say he was black and went to a fucking college to get whatever benefits that should have been allocated to a black man. He got the same benefits. So she wrote this book is propaganda to get niggas to vote for them. I don't believe none of them people is her family. None of them. I don't believe none of them people. The way she did black people and fucking, how do you come from a civil rights era when you locked the mother up whose daughter had sickle cell anemia and you knew it? How do you do that? How do you keep a black man on death row? How do you lock another black man up for 7 years and then he had to go through all the appeal processes to get free? You're not one of us. But then, like, what has she ever done for black people? See, that will be her real track record. But you don't see no track record of her doing anything for black people. Yeah. And look, I ran to a brother yesterday. I had to hold a lecture in a quick check. Right? I ran to a brother yesterday, right? Because check this out, right? I'm gonna tell you some funny shit, right? So boom, I was on the phone with my girl, right? So we was talking. So I guess he must have overheard what we were saying, because my girl, she's a Democrat too, right? So I'm trying to really wake her ass up, right? But however it go, right? Boom. So this man, he gonna show me the New York Times or one of them New York papers, right? And it had Kamala Harris' husband on the page, on the front page, saying that he smacked his girlfriend 20 years ago, right? So what he said, with the black dude or the Aborigine brother who was kind of lost, and I had to help him, right? He was like, look, they brought this up, and this thing is 20 years old. So I had to say to him, I said, listen, brother, when you go for job interviews, they bring up your drug, they bring up your criminal record that's 30 years old. And you surprised? And you surprised? Now all of a sudden it shouldn't be brought up with a white man, but then they still bringing up your criminal record today. And the stuff that your people did. But then when it comes to them, oh, we should just ignore this or whatever, because this is old. No, do like they do to you. They bring up your old criminal history or the things you did 30 years ago. But then, because this man smacked a woman 20 years ago, this shit shouldn't be brought up. No, it should be brought up. It's very relevant to what's going on now. But let's get back into this fake ass book she got.
To see Martin Luther King Jr. speak at Berkeley, and my mother had a chance to meet him. She told me that at one of these anti-war protests, the marchers were confronted by the Hells Angels. She told me that at another, she and her friend were forced to run for safety with me in a stroller after violence broke out against the protesters. But my parents and their friends were more than just protesters. They were big thinkers, pushing big ideas, organizing their community.
And just another thing, right? If she's so black, why she got a white husband? And that's something. If you was dating all these black men to get where you was, to get your political feet up under you. So as soon as you got your political feet up under you, you went to a white daddy. Unfucking believable, man. Unbelievable, man.
Community. Aunt Mary, her brother, my uncle Freddie, my mother and father, and about a dozen other students organized a study group to read the Black writers that the university was ignoring. So you guys, what can I say here? I am being reduced to sound effects. She wrote this book and she starts the sentence with her. This is maybe she wrote, I have the best family, and shows multiple pictures of an Uncle Fred that isn't her Fred. Why did she do this? It's not her uncle, okay? It's just not her uncle. It's her mom's friend. And she dedicates so much time to him and the protest. And she's dropping Martin Luther King. And she's
for Black people.
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination, segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not.
And look at her hair. She still got Indian hair. It's just curled up like how Black women wear their hair. Her hair is just as straight as a fucking Hindu, right? But listen to what she's saying.
Legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the Lift Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant.
So basically, she want to give immigrants who didn't go through what the fuck we went through, she want to throw us up in there and saying that's what a lot of these people doing. A lot of these people are looking past what we went through and what our people went through and trying to throw us up in there with all these other fucking migrants, or because all these people in America are immigrants. Let's just keep it a buck. All of them are immigrants. If you're not an Tonton or you're not an Aborigine, you're a fucking foreigner. And we did not come here on no fucking slave ship, and we're not foreigners. But then you want to lump up, you get sat there and said, well, then again, we already know that what she said, our people didn't go through, right? But the segregation, and even segregation, see, we thinking that segregation was something bad. We was doing better when we were segregated. And we didn't, y'all have seen the fucking Sir Solomon Jones films. Y'all done seen the Sir Solomon Jones film. We never needed to integrate. They playing this technology shit on you, thinking that you needed to integrate with these people for you to have what they had. Think about it. We never needed to integrate with them. We was better off when we were segregated. We only integrated because their mobs and their militias ran into our towns and was burning our towns down, and then they ran a play on us, saying that they can protect us if we came into their jurisdiction, which now we are so-called citizens, and and their protection was unleashing their police officers on us. And all this horrific shit that we see play out in the 1950s and 1960s and 1970s. And finally, they say, you know what? We're going to give these people something to basically, how do I want to say it? to basically put them to sleep. That's when you get the crack cocaine. That's when you get all this other stuff. That's when we start turning the guns on each other and start killing each other. But listen to what she says.
So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No. Because whatever benefits that, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
Now look, now let's go back into her book, right? She's sitting there saying, talking all this blackness. Oh yeah, my people marched with Martin Luther King and yada and all this so-called black talk. But in the midst of it, look what she says she ain't gonna do. But you brought in 20 million immigrants, and basically reparations for them is from them coming from them shithole, fucking decapitated land that they came from with no resources and coming here. They getting instant reparations. They are walking reparations, literally. Meanwhile, you done been held out, which you already had. You had land and had everything going for you, right? But then they had to come in and stop our progress that we've been made, right? That we was always making, right? Then get us to integrate into their communities, and then once we integrated, they played keep away. They didn't. The jobs wasn't available for our people. The only thing was available was for drugs and fucking poverty. And our people did not come from that. You came from families the way you can go outside in the backyard. You had peaches, plums, apples, fucking pecans, the works, man. The works. Lemons, oranges, or whatever. This is where your people came from. So now you into these concrete jungles to where the only way you can find resources is by working. Okay.
She's dropping W.E.B. Du Bois, and she's dropping so many other people that are Black in this book. For what reason? Because she's performing, because this is a sleight of hand, because they quite literally likely sat around in a boardroom and they said, how can we make you Black? I want to see every photo of you ever taken. And I'm going to tell you what in people's minds will just read like Blackness. So we've got Ruby Bridges now in people's memory, being embedded in people's memory. Now we've got this idea of her marching aunties and uncles in Harlem. It's just so unacceptable. It is so unacceptable. After going through all these photos, I made a joke to my producer and director. I was like, oh, what's next? Is there going to be a picture of her just like eating collard greens and cornbread? Is she going to be like, this is me eating collard greens and cornbread? I'm in Harlem. And they said back to me, no, she's done that. I said, no. I said, shut up. That's not true. She's not done that. There's no way. They said, yeah, no, there are clips of her speaking about collard greens. I said, I cannot believe this. Produce me the clip. And they did. Here it is.
I have a friend who had a Christmas party, Christmas Eve every year, and she asked me to make the greens for a party every year. And I am not lying to you that I would make so many greens that I'd need to wash them in the bathtub. I'm telling you the truth.
So how do you make your greens? Do you put turkey in them? Do you
bacon.
Nice.
I do bacon.
She puts
garlic.
vinegar.
I put white vinegar. Yes. I do. So I slice up my garlic. But no, first I chop up the bacon and get all that fat going. Then I put garlic. Yeah. Some chili peppers, and then a lot of water and a little chicken stock, and I let it go for a while before I put the greens in. And then right? So you get that going and all that flavor. And then I put the greens in for a couple hours. Then I do vinegar. And then I cheat and do a little Tabasco.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
My
but
grandmother-
Tabasco of all, like I like Louisiana hot sauce,
Yeah.
but Tabasco has that right amount of vinegar.
tang
Yeah,
on it, yeah.
and that's how I do my green.
I see why.
And see, look, common sense to tell you she's fucking lying again, right? Because once again, as I stated earlier, Jamaicans don't eat collard greens. So where are you getting this culture from? Your mother's Indian. We just seen you with this bitch Mindy talking about all these Indian dishes. You never would live with your father. Your father didn't teach you to make collard greens because they don't eat collard greens in their culture. So where did you get the idea to eat collard greens from? Because it's not in your Jamaican culture and it's not in your Indian culture. Collard greens is something that is strictly restricted for the people that's living in the southern parts of America and extended to other people who have descendants. Listen, collard greens, I'm not going to say collard greens is just restricted to blacks in the South. It was also restricted to blacks in the North because blacks, we all got the same cultural eating practices. So a black in the North who's an Aborigine, whose family did not come here from no Africa, who was already here, already was eating black-eyed peas, collard greens, yams, etc. Her family, her lineage does not come from that. Now, you might, as a chef, I know that people do put pork butt or smoked pork butt, right, in their collard greens, right? Now, most people use smoked turkey, right? Or turkey necks, right? Or smoked turkey legs. And they put that in there. They put that in their collard greens, right? But for her to sit there and say, first of all, she put them inside the tub, right? Which that's some filthy shit, right? Black, you ain't never seen no black people put no collard greens in no tub. Number one, you don't see black people even using Tabasco sauce. Most black people using Louisiana hot sauce or using red hot sauce. They're not using no fucking Tabasco sauce. Tabasco sauce don't even taste like regular hot sauce. Tabasco sauce got more of a Mexican or a Hispanic type of hot sauce. That's not no hot sauce that black people use. Maybe some uppity black people use it. But like I said, I'm a chef. I don't even use Tabasco sauce. I would never use that. I would use red hot, if anything. Red hot, I use the Louisiana joint. And there's another one that I would use. I would never use Tabasco sauce. To me, doesn't taste like regular hot sauce. She's saying because it has more vinegar. I think it's a lack thereof vinegar in Tabasco to where you taste more of the cayenne pepper in it. Right? But understand that. Understand that. Yeah, Texas Pete. Yeah, I didn't use Texas Pete's too. I ain't going front Texas Pete, the Louisiana joint, and the red hot. Nobody, no black person you ever seen in your lifetime running around here with no Tabasco. So even Hillary Clinton wasn't dumb enough to pull out no Tabasco sauce when she went up there on the Breakfast Club. You said marinara. Nah, hey, look, hey, Doc Hazen. In cocktail sauce, they use chili sauce. Chili sauce. What the fuck is the root? The hot root. Oh my god, I can't think of the name of it. Oh my god, what the fuck is the name of the hot root that you put in cocktail sauce? Oh, it's gonna come to me in a minute. Lemon juice, chili sauce. Whatever that root is, it's eluding me right now, or whatever. And what else we put in it? I think we put a little Worcestershire sauce in it. I think it's a little Worcestershire, but it's chili sauce. It's damn, I can't get the name of the fucking root out. Lemon juice and then a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. All right. So let's get back into this, man.
You get invited every year.
And she brought it up again at another event. Take a listen.
Hey, Marlon, so I know how to make a mean pot of greens. In fact, people used to ask me to make greens for them for Christmas. One year, I had so many that I had to wash that we ended up washing them in the bathtub. So
Once again, the question you were asked, Camilla. Your father from Jamaica and your mother from India. What part of your family eats collard greens? I wait. Where did you learn it from? Where did you learn it from? You understand what I'm saying? Her father wasn't even around. So the mere fact that all her father family, or she was able to, her mother was taking her around to go to her father. How? Her mother's a single mother. Like, so how was she taking you around all these different black people houses and shit, and then you was eating all this? Get the fuck out of here. Listen, if she do eat collard greens, it's because she been around black people, and it rubbed off on her. Because she was going with that nigga Willie Brown. That nigga Willie Brown looked like he be fucking sucking chicken legs, and she not black people be eating chicken and shit, man. Well, let's not be stupid, man. Willie Brown looked like one of them niggas. Like he'll roll up his sleeves and start sucking motherfucking chicken bones and shit, nigga. So if she know about collard greens, because she probably went over Willie Brown family house, or Willie Brown probably done had some goddamn collard greens and then gave it to her. And she didn't sat there and she done sucked up all of his so-called culture. And then later on, they passed and said, you know what? You can pass for black. You can pass for black or whatever. You could definitely pass. You don't look like an Indian woman. You could pass more for black than you can Indian. You look more like a light-skinned Indian woman. Passed her on to the community, and then somebody came up, just like Obama. Obama's story is fake. His story his story is false. And the same person who came up with Obama's story came up with her story just to appease the niggas. And it's actually the backward reversal role. Biden was Obama vice president, and then when Biden became president, he brought in a so-called Indian lady to pass off as a black lady. And now they trying to make her president. Yeah, hey Chief, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, that nigga Willie Brown look like he be sucking motherfucker. You know how black nigga people be eating chicken, man. You ain't never seen nobody eat chicken like black people, bro. They clean the bones, nigga. That nigga Willie Brown probably be smacking, probably be fucking like, yo, like sucking the chicken bones and all that type of shit. And she picked that shit up. And see, a lot of these people, and see, that's the thing, even with these fraternities, right? They teach these fraternity women to be, I'm not saying all of them are whores, but they teach them to use what you got to get what you want type shit. That's how they able to move up the ranks. And the same thing with some of the fraternity brothers. If one of them niggas got to bend over and take it in the ass, and I ain't saying no Diddy neither, I'm for real. Them niggas is willing to do that for them to get to whatever position they got to get to too. So it works vice versa. These Greek fraternities, we already see these Greek fraternities got this homosexuality in it, and then they teach the women to be sluts, because a lot of the so-called hazing processes and some of these fraternity rituals, they gotta sleep with 10 men. They're not telling you that though. They're not telling you that. They may have to sleep with the whole. They may send them one of them AKAs to sleep with the whole entire frat, the whole fraternity. 10 men. And then that same woman, she gets on some of these so-called corporations or some of these so-called job sites or whatever. Now she know how to go in there and sit on a motherfucking boss lap and rub his back and do all this shit. And the next thing you know, she's the head. She's the head of the fucking of the firm, or she's the head of the corporation, bro. I'm telling you, that's what they do, bro. That's exactly what they do. Shy Alpha, I'm lying. I'm lying, Shy Alpha. Do they not over sexualize these women and then make these women go out there? They go out there into the world, and a silly fucking idiotic woman like Kamala Harris, who can't articulate a sentence, right? When she's asked what her policy gonna be, she's going to some family shit and just people just be running around. It's saying no. Say look up Yale Sex Week. See, yeah. And all of that shit come from these so-called European Greek fraternities and the Greek-minded people, bro. They are this is what they do. This is why a lot of them people, like a lot of the men, look at all the men. Look at most of the men who say they come from these so-called I forgot what the men fraternities is or whatever. But look at some of the men. Look at the man. Listen, that shit make me cringe when I see that, bro. When I see, and it just give me a bad feeling, like, yo, man, these niggas is nasty, man. And the same thing they teach the sisters to be. They say they over sexualize these women, and this is the result of her sleeping with Willie Brown, some chicken leg sucking, the fucking collard green eating, cornbread crumbs around the beard or around the mustache having. You know what I'm saying? Like real talk. And this is how she found her way, yeah, cringy, right? This is how she found her way into the arms of Willie Brown. A straight up nigga, right? Willie, any nigga with the last name Brown is a straight up nigga. Like they can't take the nigga, you can't squeeze the nigga out of his ass, right? He gonna be a nigga. Like I said, he one of them uncles. He one of them uncles that come over for the holidays. That's over there smacking. You know what I'm saying? Probably smacking, putting all this hot sauce on his chicken, hot sauce in the greens. Because everybody don't put hot sauce in their greens. Only black people do that. So you have to be around direct black people who do that. And Willie Brown look like he's one of them type of niggas. Montel don't. Montel don't look like he's a Willie Brown type nigga. Montel look like he's one of them clean cut niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he'll eat Southern food too, right? But Willie Brown just looked like he's going all in. This nigga probably got a heavy plate, fucking cabbage, collard greens, yams, macaroni and cheese, black eyed peas, okra. This nigga probably got ham, turkey legs, fried chicken. You understand? A whole big plate of it. A whole big plate of it, my brother. For real. Smacking. Like, man, for real, man. That nigga Willie Brown looked like somebody's uncle. Like, yo, he told her good. That's the only reason she know about collard greens, man. Through Willie Brown, man. Yeah, a glass of sweet tea. That's right. Or maybe an uptown. Maybe an uptown, Levar. Maybe an uptown. Maybe they might be doing an uptown. But definitely some sweet tea. At the minimum, is some sweet tea. Let's not get it messed up. At the minimum. And the nigga Willie Brown going back for seconds. You understand? And he's like, oh, Camilla, you got to taste these greens. And these greens taste good. And he probably sat there and told her his grandmother recipe, right? What she's basically talking about, but did a remix single and added Tabasco sauce to it. Cause niggas already that like see if you can say foul on her play, right? Foul on her play for talking about Tabasco sauce. Cause she basically gave herself away by throwing the tobacco. We know those niggas don't use tobacco sauce like that, bro. We know that. We know that. Let's get back into it, man. Let's play a little bit more of this, man, before I get out of here.
I am not playing around.
Black America, listen to me. I'm speaking directly to you because I am not playing around either. If I catch you voting for this woman, I'm going to haunt you. I'm going to haunt you in your dreams. There will be nowhere that you can go where I will not haunt you. This is just, we have to come together. At some point in society, we have to come together to declare this unacceptable. Like, I don't care where you sit on the spectrum. This is the most not okay thing that I have ever seen in the history of politics. This is how she's shoring up black votes. She's going around talking about collard greens, putting in fake pictures of her uncles and aunties that are black while conveniently ignoring all of her aunties and uncles that are white. And people are just eating this up. Let me find that woman that was going, okay, to all that vinegar put into her call. Okay, let me find her. I'm going to haunt her. I promise you that. But of course, guys, let's get to.
And see, look, and she's right? She's right. Why is it so important that you put all these black people in to paint the reality that you black, knowing goddamn well your mother Indian, and you directly in an Indian picture with some Hindu women? Why are you going beyond a call of duty to make it seem like you was raised by black people when you was raised by Indian woman? You ain't got none of your Indian relatives in there. You ain't got none of, because even if her father has what we call brown skinned Jamaicans in her family, right? Still doesn't make her black. She's not a black American. And she's appealing to black Americans. She's not appealing to no black other people. She only appealing to black Americans. The only reason why she says she's black is to get the votes from black Americans. That's it. So why, like Candance Owen said, why don't she got her Hindu family in there? Why don't she got her white, the other heritage of dealing with the Slavic heritage, right? Because they want you to believe that the white side of her family was the slave owners. No. White slaves was taken to Jamaica, nigga. White slaves were taken to Jamaica. And another thing what Candance Owen failed to realize, just because you Irish don't mean you white. So even if she do have melanated people on that side of the region, that family from there, doesn't still make her in black America. Just like what we just showed you, who was that term placed on? It was placed on us here in America. When people come from their countries or their islands and come to America and have a child, then they classify their child according to what the race looked like, or what the, what the child looked like. They would say that they're black. They would say that they're white. They would say that they're Asian, right? Right? So, yeah, that's what they do, man. That's what they do. That's what them AKAs do. They go around sleep with the executive of the company so that they can move up in ranks. Telling you, that's what they do. And I'm not saying, listen, there might be some AKAs in there who's not a part of that, but I'm quite sure you can resonate with what the hell I'm talking about. I'm quite sure you're going to be like, yo, A1, right? We were sleeping around. We were. Somebody in the chat room right now, like, yo, A1, right? That's exactly what they had us doing. They was prepping us to be fucking whores for the executives so we can move up. Because that's exactly what Kamala Harris' whole background is. You slept with an older man who private school, or married older man at that. Married older man. You was cheating on your husband now when he was married. So come on now.
Me speaking to her uncle, because that actually happened. Like I promised you yesterday, I said I had a phone call. I was trying to wait for it to happen yesterday. Well, it happened last night. Part one of our phone call happened last night. We briefly spoke on the phone, I would say for about 10 minutes. And I first want to say just how much I liked this guy. I just had a feel like, okay, I'll be honest. I have a Caribbean bias. My former producer made it very clear to me that I have a Caribbean bias because she'd pitch me stories or like say like Rihanna did this. And I'd be like, I'm not going to say anything bad about Rihanna, or like Nicki Minaj. And she's like, but I have a Caribbean bias. This guy's got a Caribbean accent. My grandma had a very thick St. Tomian accent. So it was just like, I could sense his Caribbean calm. I can't explain to you. And I could just also sense that he was being incredibly made it very clear to me that I have a Caribbean bias because she'd pitch me stories or like say like Rihanna did this, and I'd be like, I'm not gonna say anything bad about Rihanna, or like Nicki Minaj, and she's like, but you, I have a Caribbean bias. This guy's got a Caribbean accent. My grandma had a very thick St. Thomian accent, so it was just like.
There you have it right there. She just told you her grandmother had a thick Caribbean accent. So she's a Caribbean too, said. And like I said, if she got black American ancestry, then yes, she black. But if she only says she black because, you know, her family from the Caribbean, and she only saying she black because she in America, then she not, Candance Owen not black neither. If we find out you got all Caribbean ancestry and you here posing like you're black, is black Americans. Black is black people who go back before the 1800s. Black is just not people who just come here and then just automatically call themselves. You have a place where you from. So if you Jamaican, you will come into America as I'm from Jamaica, right? Or I'm a Jamaican American if I was born to Jamaican parents. If you come from Cuba, you would say I'm Cuban, right? But if you have and like I said, and it varies because some of them they mix out. So you might catch some Jamaicans and Haitians mixing, right? But they say, yeah, I'm a Haitian Jamaican American, or Haitian. Really, you're not American, really. Period. I mean, technically you are because Caribbean is in America, but from the understanding to how Europeans lay it down to you, because Europeans are not Americans, so they cannot tell other people who are Americans. The only way you will be an American is to be an autochton or to be Aborigine to this land. But they want you to believe that the original Americans, they either killed off, right? They killed off, so they try not to show you no ethnic background of what the original Americans look like, right? But then even that is kind of like it's kind of hypocritical, right? Because you claiming because you on the land of the people you conquered, right? You claim you're an American. According to them, we know better than that. But let's say, for example, when we know a lot of white people was born here as slaves, but they tell you, oh, well, we killed off all of the indigenous people. Now we're living on their land. Now we are what they are. We're Americans. And any people who we let come over here, if you have a child born here, then your child will be an American. No, to be an American means you have to be Aboriginal. You can't just come from another continent and come and claim to be from this continent. That doesn't work that way. Even if you was born here, it doesn't matter. If I was born in China, I would never be Chinese. If I was born in India, I would never be Indian. Now Europe varies, right? Europe varies because Europe is kind of like it has different ethnicities, right? But in China and India don't. They have strictly their own people there. So you see how the game that they played on us? That's right, Tasco. They hide black under the peace, Jaja. They hide black under the umbrella. So now everybody because understand, you took a pledge of allegiance to the United States. Your family became a United States citizen. The United States is not of America. It's of America, but it's not America. There's two different entities there. Why wouldn't you just, if you came here, why wouldn't you just go right to being American? Why do you have to be a United States citizen first? So a United States citizen is someone who pledged allegiance and became naturalized, right? And then according to them, an American is someone, a United States, whether you naturalized or you're natural born here and you have a child here, then you will become an American then. But the United States is not America. It's of America. It's utilizing American territories. It's a foreign corporation, right? Let's get back into some more of this, man.
I could sense his Caribbean calm. I can't explain to you. And I could just also sense that he was being incredibly honest and forthright. And he was speaking to me. And it was actually like very I guess I would say just beautiful in a way because he cared about this. He wanted to reach out because he cares so much about Vioris, you know, and he doesn't want whatever is going on with Kamala to make people have this perception of Vioris. And I told him right away that it was never my intention for him to get inundated. So I want to be clear. My understanding is that it's the press calling, but I want to make sure that there are no Candance Owens viewers that are going out there calling any of these relatives that are still alive, because we can find information online, but we definitely should not be harassing her relatives who have nothing to do with her running. And in many cases, don't even agree with her politics. Like this person that I spoke to is a Candance Owens fan, conservative, as many Caribbeans are conservative because, like, you know, on the islands, that it's just not a lot of wokeness. I'll leave it at that. You know, why are you gay kind of a vibe going on. You are gay. It's a little bit more of like an island vibe. Anyways, I just said to him, look, we're just trying to get questions answered about Kamala's heritage because of her father's paper.
And that's another thing, see? My man just said her father black, which if her father black, then that's cool. But if she's not, if she don't have no direct descendants who been in America from the 1800s, you know, if you don't have, and I think she do because of what she was, like she was saying that she says she has some people in the South. So that's the reason why she can consider herself to be black, right? But see, even with other racial culture, other culture of black people when they come here, right? What they try to do is they try to look like black Americans. So they forfeit their culture as soon as they come here because either they get wigs or they put a relaxer in their hair, right? They put wigs or put a relaxer in their head. They don't get it wrong or get it twisted that black people wasn't wearing braids in America. Africans didn't bring braids over here. Probably the weaves and shit, but they didn't bring braids over here. We've been braiding up our own hair back in the 70s before Africans was even around. So like from Candance Owen perspective or whatever, if she's Caribbean, she's not a black American. I don't care if you was born here in America. See, this is the exception of what the white man said, yeah, we took over this shit, nigga. And if you born here in the United States, then technically you are an American, right? Taking your nationality and saying, oh, well, there's no really identity of what an American is because it's so ambiguous because of so many different people was allowed to come here and migrate, and now they can hide under that terminology that they're American. And the same thing with black. I don't classify myself as black, but you just ain't going to be running around here throwing that terminology, knowing that shit go back to our ancestors, thinking that you just going to be applying that to anybody who come here who look like us. That doesn't work that way. That's right. And that it doesn't mean black because even check it out. Most of them would be like, yeah, well, my descendants come from African. I'm African, but you know, you will be Jamaican African or some shit like that. But just to say that everybody's black when we just went, right? We just went right here, right? Let me see something. Let me share the entire screen for this one. Look. This is a FYI to you motherfuckers, right? So this is once again it's African American and black identity and racial terms, right? So you got identity terms: African, free African, African American, African descendant, and then we have black, right? And then we have black, right? So then we have, this is according to what we're talking about. Black has been used throughout the last 3 centuries, which we know that black wasn't used throughout the 3 centuries, but we're going to run with some of this, right? We know that nobody had the power to come here and to start calling us names, right? Okay. So it said, and then like I said, like, you know, I'm a Moor, so like I look at that term, dark skin complexion people, and how that term mortal was applied to people. But that's a whole nother thing, right? But check it out, right? It's saying black has been used throughout the last 3 centuries in the United States, but it is used as a community identifier. Emerged with the rise of Black Power movement in the 1960s, and also replaced with Negro. So now basically the terminology black was applied to people in the 1960s. Prior to that, black people wasn't even calling themselves black. They wasn't even calling themselves black. Let me see. I had something else up here. So this is also because this is it's kind of vague. It really didn't get to the right directly to the point. Let me see something. Where was it at? And look, we gotta look at this too, right? This is something that I gotta I might have to backpedal on as well too, right? Check this out. So it say from Negro to Black, starting in the 1960s, the civil rights activists such as Stokely Carmichael made a push to shift away from Negro and towards Black. Now remember, Stokely Carmichael was a Caribbean, right? He was a Caribbean, right? He was a Caribbean, right? It's saying towards Black as a more powerful ethnon, I guess that's how you pronounce it. It's saying one that intentionally engages the history of racial devaluation of Black life and intended to reverse it. Carmichael first articulated the case for this in his book Black Power speech at UC Berkeley in 1966. But understand this too, right? Stokely Carmichael got that from the Black Powers. Because I mean the Black Panthers. The Black Panther was the one that was saying Black Power, and they was using black in that way. And he just came and rolled up under that and grabbed that and started to try to say Black Power and all this other shit. But technically it was for Black people in America. Even if a Caribbean person came here and applied it to the Black people in America, he was just one of little Caribbeans that was running. I'm not saying what no Caribbeans fighting in the Black Power movement, but I'm saying it was few to many of them. It wasn't a lot of them. It was only a couple. They was majority trying to hook up like SNCC. SNCC was all mostly Black people. He was part of SNCC, right? The Black Panthers, right? The other shit that this motherfucking Kwame well not Kwame Ture Ron Karanga, the nigga who made what's the fucking the holiday Kwanzaa, right? Ron Karanga. He was also a Caribbean, but he was an agent. And some people say Stokely Carmichael was an agent as well. Okay? Because they used him to kind of like undermine the grassroots thing that was going on. A lot of people say he was an agent too. Okay? But even with the term black people pushed back against that shit. Black people didn't like to be called black. They didn't like Negro neither, because Negro was too close to nigga. So this is a good piece of material. All right, it say the movement was largely persuasive of scholar Zenobia Bell has shown that African American magazines like Ebony and Jet started consistently using the term black by 1969, and the term was soon preferred by the younger generation, right? It's saying that said of Gallup polled African Americans about their preferred racial identity. In 1969, Negro was still the most commonly preferred term. The U.S. Census also followed suit And by 1970, the choice for racial identification in the census was phrased as Negro or Black. Okay, so now, like I said, now if this came from them, right? If this came from a black man, they saying that they was calling us black for the last 3 centuries. That's bullshit. Most of the people who going back writing books calling people black, this shit is from the 1960 on up. So they looking at it from that terminology because they know that they don't want to call these people Indian and make that mistake. So of course they're going to say that they're black. And then we got such activists like Jesse Jackson suggested replacing black with African American. And that too became a broadly used term starting by the late 1980s. And we didn't see a lawsuit for the brother who put a lawsuit against them saying that he don't want to be called the African American, and how they try to downplay that and saying, well, you don't have to be called the African American. You got the right to self-identity or self-identify. So yeah. So I mean, with that being said, I'm gonna get into a few other things real quick, and I'm about to slide. I want to show you something real quick. Let me see something. Fucking cats out there fighting and shit. Let me see. Hold up. So look, even the Democratic Party, right? Look at what the Democratic Party inception was, right? So it's saying leaders of the Democratic Party, right? Leaders of the Democratic Party. Leaders of the Democratic Party. I mean, it's a bunch of them, but check it out. Let's get into more specific, right? So it says description. It says the print links Democratic president candidate Horatio Seymour to the 1863 New York draft riots, right? It says, and the Democratic leader Nathan Bedford Forrest, right? It's saying to the 1864 attack on Fort Pillow. That's a whole nother story, right? But let's go into who Nathan Bedford is, right? Because he's a very interesting character, right? Now, let's see something real quick because I had something up here. Opened up. Let me see something real quick. I think it's in there. All right, but this is George W.L. Brinkley. This is a whole nother conversation, right? And he was part of the Democrats, right? But then look, so we got the Knights of the Golden Circle, right? We got the Knights of the Golden Circle, right? And look, most of the Democratic leaders, like we just seen, where Brinkley is in here somewhere, right? But we got, right here, we got George Brinkley right here, right? Then we got Nathan Bedford Forrest, right? Then we got Albert Pike, right? Right? And it's a couple of other players up in here. Even look, even Elias Boultonul and Major Ridge was part of the Knights of the Golden Circle, right? Right? Stan Whitty, right? These are all Democrats. But most importantly, when you connect the Democrats back to the Knights of the Golden Circle, right? I think I skipped over something. Hold on, let me see something. No, let me go back up. Hold on. But there was something I had up there. think it was this right here. Oh, it went out. Hold up. Let me see. Hold up. I think it's this one. Nah, it's this one. Hold up. It's this one. Just bear with me, y'all. You know what? I can't find it right now because I had it up here, but I don't feel like going back in and looking at it. I'm gonna do another build on Sunday, and I'll show you that the Knights of Golden Circle, when Nathan Bedford Forrest, Albert Pike, and also Brinkley, these are the people who created the Democrat Party. These are also the Knights of Golden Circle is the KKK, and these are the people who was running into the towns, trying to change the towns from Republican to Democrat, right? But the strange thing that I did find let me see something. Something that I did find, right? The mission of the Knights of Golden Circle, right, was to pretty much go enslave the people of Central and South America and also the Caribbean islands, right? Now, we do see that the Democrats is bringing some of these people, a lot of these people from the Caribbean and people from Central and South America into the Americas, right? That's the reason why they're bringing a lot of these people in. That's the reason why that 1964 or 65 so-called Immigration Act was passed, right? To bring these people in, because remember, slavery ain't what you think. Slavery is indentured servant. Indentured servant is also being an employee, right? Even though you need money for food and you have to work, but no one would sit here and deny that work is definitely dealing with slavery. So to bring the people, a lot of people here from Central and South America, that was part of the Knights of Golden Circle plan, right? But it was also the plan, right? It was also the plan of the people who are the Democrats, which are the Knights of Golden Circle and the KKK. It never changed. The same people, it never changed. It's still the same. It's still the same agenda. Just because they put black faces in there, they put black faces in there that don't do nothing for other black people. Like we seen with the Black Caucus and what they did, how they just shuffled out of not trying to even talk about the Reparation Act, right? But I want y'all to check out one thing, and I'm about to slide, right? So let me see something. I want y'all to hear this right here, right? I don't know, they might block it, but let's see if they play it. So it's this one right here. So
Lies. Bullshit. That's two?
% of Americans have a positive view of the FBI. And that's from an NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly call that right media propaganda. And I think I know why. Here's what the American people know and believe about the FBI today, sir. If you are a Trump, you'll be prosecuted. If you are a Biden, you'll be protected. And the American people that I represent are sick and tired of this double standard. It seems like every single hearing that we have in this room, we talk about the two-tiered justice system of Biden's DOJ and the FBI. And as we were talking earlier, here we are again. President Trump endured an unprecedented raid at his home in Mar-a-Lago. President Biden's home, however, was respectfully browsed. President Trump is facing up to 400 years in federal prison for allegedly being in possession of classified documents he obtained as the commander-in-chief of these United States of America. And meanwhile, President Biden is facing no charges for the classified documents he had held at his time as a senator and a vice president, not the president of these United States of America. And last I checked, he had no legal authority to declassify those documents. Assuming President Trump was in possession of said classified documents, would those documents be more secure, surrounded by Secret Service at Mar-a-Lago, or in a box, in a garage, behind your Corvette? You know the answer to that question. Question for you, sir. What can you tell us about the status of the FBI's investigation of President Biden's classified documents found next to his Corvette in Delaware and those found at the Penn Biden Center? Do we have an update on that, sir?
What I can tell you is that there is an ongoing special counsel investigation led by Mr. Robert Hur, and we have FBI agents affiliated with it, working on it, working very actively and aggressively with him on that case. I obviously disagree with your description of the two standards. In my view, at least under my watch, we have one standard.
Okay.
And that is we're going to pursue the facts wherever they lead, no matter who likes it. And I add that last part because especially in sensitive investigations, almost by definition, somebody's not going to like it.
So I understand, and that's actually why I led with the sentiment of the American people. I understand that's your sentiment. I do want to finish this. So I want everybody to talk about this dichotomy that we have seen. I get your point, sir, but that's just not what we see as the public, as we the people. We see one case being fast-tracked and one case being slow-walked. We see one president's home being raided, the other president's home being kindly searched. You have one government agency, the Secret Service, protecting the former president and his home, and another government agency, the FBI, raiding the same home. Now, to me, sir, that's tragically ironic. And we expect more from a functional constitutional republic, and these things shouldn't be happening. Now, it's my opinion that Joe Biden is the most unpopular president we have seen in a century, and that's why he knows the only way to stop President Trump from beating him in November is by putting him in jail. You talked about this, Mr. Fry. In the 247 years of this existence of this great nation, only one president has ever been indicted by the DOJ and has home raided by the FBI. Now, some have said that President Trump's indictment means that no one is above the law. Okay, all right, I would love to see that. But what about Hillary Clinton? And what about Joe Biden? And what about Hunter Biden, who is America's favorite son? And let me tell you something. I got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter at my house. Hunter Biden to me is like glitter. He is on everything and you cannot get rid of him. And yet nothing is going to be done about this. We're sick of it. James Comey decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton despite overwhelming evidence that she committed crimes. And as I recall, it was the position of the FBI to not prosecute because they didn't want to interfere with the presidential election. What do you call this? The Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. 6 months. I think the American public would expect to see this from Cuba and from Venezuela and from Russia and from China, but not here. The people expect us to have blind justice. They expect equal justice under the law. It is not the job of the DOJ or the FBI to prosecute Joe Biden's top political opponent, who is leading in every single primary poll, and the Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. Let the people decide. It's our job to uphold the Constitution. As a West Point grad and military veteran, this is the Constitution I give my life to protect, and I expect us all to uphold it likewise. Thank you so much for being here.
Mr. Chairman, may I briefly respond?
Sure.
So number one, as to the investigations related to Mrs. Clinton, as you noted, that happened under my predecessor, and I'm not going to speak for or defend that decision.
I recognize that.
Second, as to your descriptions of the investigations related to Hunter Biden, as you know, there is an ongoing investigation being led by the Delaware U.S. Attorney appointed by President Trump, and we are actively working on that investigation with him.
We
Third
look forward to seeing the result of this quickly and swiftly.
And third and finally, to your point about the American people and their views, I worry less about NBC polls or polls by any other news outlet. But I will tell you that the number of people in Texas applying to work for us since I've been in this job has gone up 93%. And in fact,
I'm not going to quote Matt Gaetz. I heard his response to this earlier.
In fact, we have more applicants from the state of Texas annually in the last several years than any other state in the country.
And that makes sense because Texas is the greatest state in the country.
Then I think that speaks very well of the view of Texans about the FBI.
Director, any agents who served on the Crossfire Hurricane investigation or the Mueller investigation, are any of those agents on Mr. Hur or Mr. Smith's special counsel team?
All right, so basically what he was saying was this, right? And then I'm gonna show you another video real quick and we out of here, right? Basically, he was saying that, okay, Trump got caught with classified documents, right? When he was a president. Biden got caught with classified documents when he was a senator, right? The fact of the matter is Trump classified document case is being fast-tracked. Biden classified document case is still being investigated. Okay? He said Hillary Clinton with the email thing that everybody keep denying that happened, right? They didn't, the FBI decided not to prosecute her because she was running for president and they didn't want to do election what the fuck they call it? Election interference, right? So that's the reason why they didn't prosecute her while she was running for president. Like, but you see what how he was comparing and contrasting, right? He's saying one president had classified, one person had classified documents and he was a president. The other one had classified documents and he was a senator. And that case went back in early, I believe, 2019 or something like that. And it still haven't been, you know what I'm saying? They still haven't brought him up on no charges or nothing like they done Trump, right? But check this out. Like I said, I'll be watching this shit and they be going in on these dudes, man. Like, yo, they went in on that dude on the border. Oh, they went in. And there was another lady the other day I was watching, right? Where it was a man who was a serial rapist, right? And then when he went to jail, he had a sex change, right? Once he had a sex change, he was trying to petition to that judge to get him moved to a woman's prison. Bro, they went in on her so bad, man. I was, yo, you got to check out some of these congressional hearings, man. They be going in for real. They don't be holding no, I just recently just started really watching a lot of them just to see what they be talking about. And they don't be holding no blows, bro. They be going hard on a lot of these jokers, man. But check this out. We're going to play this and then we're going to get up out of there. I'm going to play one more video. This one right here. This is the one I want to play.
Healthier? Meet Kachava. Kachava is the world's healthiest all-in-one meal shake.
I've taken on powerful interests like developers. I've taken on legislators. I've taken on landlords. I've taken on powerful interest in the city of New York because I believe in a good fight. And right now, what we need is someone who understands that you should not be afraid, not be fearful of Donald Trump. We should take him down. We should sue him all the way to bankruptcy. We should investigate his business interests. We should investigate his business holdings. We should investigate whether or not why he was once in debt and now in a position to purchase all of this property. We can do that because I've been trained to do that, and I will do that at the same time knowing the Office of Attorney General and its powers and its responsibilities and its duties. My name is Letitia James, and I plan on being the next Attorney General of the state of New York. God bless you and thank you.
A few years later.
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated.
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transactional losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Oh, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Well, maybe I'll take that first, Your Honor.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I got to tell you guys, we got some bad news for the Democrats and their political persecutions against Trump. Okay, I already talked about Jack Smith getting desperate and trying to basically litigate the January 6th case in public because he's not going to be able to actually do so via a trial before the election. So in order to try to sway the outcome of the election, this dude drops a new file with more evidence, okay, in order to try to rig the outcome of the 2024 election. But unfortunately for him, I do not think that he's going to be able to get the outcome that he is looking for, despite his attempts to rig the election. In this video, we have to talk about another Trump deranged individual that is weaponizing the government in order to go after their political opponents, and that is Letitia James, okay, who has been a little bit more successful than Jack Smith, but maybe not for long, because as you guys remember, this Trump deranged woman decided to weaponize her office as Attorney General of New York to make up crimes against Trump when it comes to fraud, okay? She basically alleges that Trump defrauded banks by overvaluing his assets and tricking the banks into giving him loans that they otherwise would not have given Trump. Real estate or banks do their own due diligence, okay? And this was a private transaction between two sophisticated financial entities, and the banks decided to give Trump the loans after they did their own thorough evaluation, also considering the history that they had of doing business with President Trump successfully, okay, in which both parties made money. Nobody lost money. Nobody was defrauded. But yet, because this is New York, where the rule of law doesn't exist, and you have these attorney generals that are empowered to go after their political opponents, because this is what Democrats are doing nowadays, and then you have these judges, like, for example, Arthur Ergeron, who is basically a Democrat activist in a robe. Trump was found liable, civilly liable, for almost $500 million in damages, although nobody was damaged, right? Nobody was damaged at all. Maybe.
So basically with that case right there, right, what happened was he took a loan out, right? And then by their wave of a pen, they was able to say that Trump wasn't supposed to get the loans, right? But it wasn't up to the state or up to nobody. It's two transactions made between two entities. Trump paid he paid back the loan with interest, right? With interest, and both parties were settled. But in this particular matter, she went in and did what she wanted to do and tried to use that as a case to say he fraudulized them. But no one, for someone to say that fraud was done, meaning that someone would have to file a complaint with a civil court. The people who he got the loan from never filed the complaint. So they call this a predatory prosecution, right? Because they did all of this, and then you'll find out they all connected to the Democrats, all of them, even the other DA Braggs and all of these people. And all of this is election interference. The same thing what they were saying prior, what the black gentleman was saying. He was addressing the Congress and asking the FBI, how was y'all able to do this to him, but you didn't do it to Hillary Clinton or Biden, right? And you see a lot of these cases, and the people using this to say that this man, listen, Trump may be a criminal. I don't know. But these cases is not showing that he any criminal activity. In fact, it's showing more intent that they're trying to stop him from becoming president. And see, and it's obvious. It's obvious. I study law. I mean, I know about legalese and law and shit, and I study this shit. And you can see the intent. They're using these prosecutors to prosecute their political opponent, and they're trying to pretty much stop Trump from becoming president. Now, listen, let's put it like this, right? I don't vote. I'm not with all this, but I can pretty much see that it's a lot of intentions and illegal intentions, and also like this stuff is like intentional. Like all of these cases that just came out after this man said he was going to run for president. So when he said he was going to run for president, all of a sudden all these cases just came out of nowhere. This man been around all this time. Why haven't they convicted him before? Why haven't we heard about none of these cases before? Because they're using these cases to try to get him to stop running for president. That's the only reason. They're doing everything they can do. Every fucking thing they can do. Let me play a little bit more and we out of here.
Letitia James' feelings, maybe she was jealous about Trump's success, in which again she campaigned on, the fact that hey, Trump is a successful businessman and I want to bring him down, right? I don't like it. Okay, I don't like him in his politics, so I'm going to try to destroy his business, right? That is what happened. In a verdict came out, and
6 years ago I had it all. 2 years later, I lost everything. Mouth taping my life. I had this
but more importantly, the message about the American brand. You think about America, the reason this is the #1 economy on earth is that we have laws and we have due process and we have property rights. It attracts foreign capital from all around the world. All of that is being shaken to the core. The concept of seizing assets in 30 days on a bond number that's never been issued. No insurance bond company's ever issued anything near this. So there was no chance it was going to happen. And only given 30 days notice and time, that's a really bad message. And I think New Yorkers think well past Trump, whether he's president or not, or whether this attorney general is gone in 4 years or not, it's irrelevant. This is case setting against the American brand. The most stable country on earth, anywhere, to put capital to work over a long period of time, particularly in real estate, the States of America. This is an assault on what we believe to be core. And I find it extraordinary. I think it's very troubling. It has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump at this point, in my view, and it is completely bipartisan. This is an attack on America. And I don't know how you can look at it any other way. And as an investor, and I know plenty of investors who are complete adult supervision. Where is it? Where are the adults in this crazy narrative? Woof, woof, woof. But we need an adult in the room now. This is the United States of America.
And everybody in this country who doesn't like to see this type of lawfare and weaponization of against this.
So what you're about to hear right here is the appellate court judges and them basically reviewing the case and asking, they asking each other, how did this case even get into court? Not let's get an actual verdict. because they're like the appellate conviction. They sit up in there. They're wondering whether or not they're going to debar this black lady. And like they always, even with the Fannie Willis thing, all of this stuff is all of these charges is trumped up charges. And the sad part is they using black women and they are being a catalyst to do this against them. And the sad part about it, if he get into office, a lot of these people are screwed. And they're doing all of this shit for the Democratic Party. They're doing all of this shit and they don't know they're putting their careers in jeopardy. They're putting their lives in jeopardy, meaning that they can go to jail for this. This is fraud. And this is not even fraud. It's fraud on the highest level on how they doing it. So I'm going to play the appellate judges and what they're saying about it. Listen to this.
Civil fraud verdict. And let's just say that the appellate court judges in New York do not like what Letitia James is trying to do. And it appears
that this huge judgment should be thrown out, arguing that it's grossly excessive in large part because appellate justices. Trump's lawyer argued that this huge judgment should be thrown out, arguing that it's grossly excessive in large part because the civil case was based on allegations past this
did, which is to go way back in time to 2011 and 2012 and assign liability and major consequences, huge financial consequences based on analysis that never looked at a 2017 or 2015 statements that
Trump's lawyers also argued that there was no victims in this case. Listen.
Every case that you cite involved where there was damage to consumers, damage to the marketplace. You've got a scheme to get unsophisticated consumers to take out home loans. You got a collapse of Lehman Brothers. You don't have anything like that here.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, the statute doesn't require that whatsoever for liability. And the statute is written broadly because the legislature wants the Attorney General to go in and stop fraud and illegality.
Welcome back. New York Appeals Court judges now pushing back hard against Letitia James, saying that the nearly $500 million penalty that she got against former President Trump appears unjustified, expressing doubts, saying the penalty was, quote, troubling. That Letitia James was out of bounds, that there should be guardrails around Letitia James. Let's welcome former clerk to Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. He's the president of the Article 3 Project. He's Mike Davis. Mike, what do you make of all this? That penalty was decided only by Judge Engoron, not a jury. Engoron is a longtime Democrat donor. What do you think of the appeals court here?
The appeals court is showing some sanity in New York, much needed sanity, that even these Democrat appointed judges understand how outrageous this verdict was against President Trump. They're trying to claim that President Trump overvalued Mar-a-Lago. They pretend Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million when it's 20 acres of the most prime real estate in Palm Beach County, Florida, the most expensive real estate in the country. And they're trying to say that Trump overvalued his real estate and therefore these sophisticated Wall Street banks were somehow duped. And even though Trump paid them back in full, on time, as agreed, with interest, that somehow he defrauded the public. It's an absolutely insane theory.
Let's go through what the judges were saying. Justice John Higgett, question, maybe there should be legal guardrails put around Letitia James, that she's going into an area that wasn't intended for her jurisdiction. Other justices said basically you have two really sophisticated players, Deutsche Bank and Trump. No one lost any money, no impact on the public marketplace. This was between two private sector players. Even if there was a problem, it sounds like a potential commercial dispute by private actors. So why did the state have to weigh in?
They didn't. And it's because this New York Attorney General, Tish James, a Democrat who campaigned on getting Trump as part of the Democrats' campaign of lawfare and election interference. She illegally contorted, politicized, and weaponized a New York statute intended, a consumer protection statute intended for persistent fraud to go after her political enemy, Donald Trump.
Yeah. So what you have here is an obvious case of communist style persecution against a political opponent. Okay. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime, right? That's essentially what Letitia James did here. And this is why these judges seem to be leaning towards ruling in favor of Trump. Now, again, we don't know exactly what the ruling will be. And the oral arguments here aren't always indicative of exactly how these judges will rule. But it seems as if they're very uncomfortable with what Letitia James is doing, so much so they're saying maybe guardrails need to be placed around her. And what they really should mean by guardrails should be a jail cell, right? That's actually what should happen to Letitia James if they decide to reverse this ruling, which they should, because what she did was such an egregious abuse of power that she needs to be held accountable. She's the one that actually is conducting the fraud here, right? This was a fraudulent case that should have never been brought against the president. I mean, you're talking about abusing a statute that is designed to protect the public. And you have a man, a businessman, a sophisticated businessman doing business with sophisticated banks in which nobody in the public was harmed. Nobody, there were no victims whatsoever, even the parties that were involved. But yet you have a $500 million judgment against a man who didn't defraud anybody, who banks said, hey, I'd do business with him again. Okay, we love doing business with Trump. We made money, he made money, right? It's all good. And again, you would think that if anybody had a problem with this, it would be the banks, right? The banks, okay, would be the ones going after Trump and seeking some type of remedy for being defrauded. But they weren't defrauded. They made money. Trump made money. Nobody was harmed. But yet, again, she's weaponizing a statute that is designed to protect actual victims of fraud, right? We're talking about everyday people who are the victims of fraudulent financial schemes, okay, who really don't know any better, okay, and they get defrauded out of their money. She used that to basically protect big banks and Wall Street, even though they weren't harmed, right? They weren't damaged. Again, it's lunacy. It is absolute lunacy. And this type of weaponization should not be tolerated. And I think that she should face consequences, right? In a sane world, she should be going to jail. Now, I'm not sure exactly what Trump can do about this if the court decides to rule in his favor, but he needs to use all the power that he can to make sure that she faces some type of punishment. This type of stuff cannot go unpunished, right? We cannot just turn the other cheek as Democrats are weaponizing the state in order to bankrupt their political opponents and to lock them up in jail. I mean, look at what Alvin Bragg is doing. Another case out in New York that only could be successful in New York, just like this case, right? It's funny how that works. The only successful cases against Trump are happening in a deep blue state like New York, right? And that Alvin Bragg case, they'll probably get overturned on appeal as well, too. But the damage is already done. The damage is already done because the public thinks that Trump is some type of fraudster, right? He's a fraudster. Look at what happened with Letitia James and Alvin Bragg and all this stuff, right? The damage is already done. The whole point was to try to get something on him before the election. Oh, Trump's a convicted felon, right? You know how many people out there feel uncomfortable voting for a convicted felon, right? Just for his case to get overturned on appeal later on down the road after the election. Well, you can't go back and redo the election. The damage is already done. Because the whole point was to try to rig the outcome of the election. That was the whole point. This is why Alvin Bragg had to make up a crime. This is why Letitia James had to abuse a statute.
So I just want to play some of that just so you guys can do some further research on that. Just so you don't believe the propaganda that's in the news, and you see how like some news basically talks all this about one so-called political a person that's in a presidential race, rather, right? And then they're not saying nothing about the other one. And you go back to my video I did Sunday, I showed you some of the crimes that old girl was involved in, and some of the how she was screwing black people over, right? So you always understand it's always gonna be propaganda out here. The propaganda been going on for so long. We're part of the propaganda because even our statuses and how we are classified and where we're from is always being always being rewritten and put into a lot of these educational institutions, and people regurgitate these lies and then challenge us with it, right? And the same thing you see with political campaigns, right? The put people who run in who are currently in politics, how dirty they do other politicians, right? But it is what it is, man. I just want to put that out there, man. Shout out to all the Aborigines, North, South, Central, the Tonchans, the Indians, the Moors, etc. Right? Shout out to everybody, man. Definitely, I'll be back Sunday. I'm probably gonna do something Sunday when I get a chance, though. But definitely, man, everybody be safe out there, man. Shout out to everybody who came through. Definitely hit that like button if you're on your way out. With that being said, man, peace to God, sis. Your brother Hano Kiel, A1 or Tonchless one. And y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day, man. I'll get back with y'all on Sunday. Peace to God. Peace.